Hey,
Hey,
how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Welcome
Took
to
I'm
me a
Pork
good.
few
and
minutes to get it.
Beans.
Took me a few minutes to get it on.
I don't think your name's iPad. Should I change it?
Yeah, change it.
What do you want to be called? You want to
Just Jen.
Jennifer or
Jennifer.
Jen?
Jen. Everybody calls me Jen.
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 Okay.
Jen Appleton.
Okay. You got something playing, Beans, or is that Jen?
Oh, I forgot to cut TV off. I'll be right back.
Yeah, look at that nice house she's got.
Y'all behave yourselves, okay?
She's giving somebody a heck.
Look, she's got a nice chair. Look at that nice chair.
Y'all behave
Well, it's just
yourselves.
kind of like look at mine.
Yeah, well look at mine.
That's well, you're we've got nice chairs. Your chair has character.
Oh my Lord, my chair has been around for a long time.
Oh man, my chair's all ratted out. I bought it at Office Depot, and I think it was $250 or $300, and it's just like by the end of the first year, it's already ratty, and you know, they give you this nice soft stuff, right? And but that soft stuff is like painted on, and it peels off. It looks like that.
Yeah, mine don't look any better.
Oh, mine does. Mine's pretty nice.
That's because yours is new. Yours is new. It's new.
Yeah. Plus, I don't let when the wife comes near it, I yell at her. You know, she comes by with like sharp objects, and I don't want it ripped and stuff. So, pretty protective of it.
There was what have you got? A little section of the house is the man cave corner.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh man, I live in a one bedroom apartment. Oh,
That's why I said a man cave corner. You just got a little
Oh.
corner of the house with a little picnic table.
look what I got from Igor. Kelly Rainbow sent me this.
Oh, look at that. The
Oh, cool.
search of hominology.
Yeah. Book 1, In Search of Evidence, Yeti, Snowman, Almasty, Bigfoot, in Russia and beyond. Well,
Yeah,
good. He's not
yeah.
hunting for that's good. He didn't put my Sasquatch on there. He's not hunting for them. No, I know he's not hunting. Oh, Kelly sent me a little card. Oh, and then Kelly sent me a nice little note because she sent it.
Oh, cool.
How cool is that? That's because you're a celebrity.
Am I really?
Yeah, you're a celebrity.
Yeah, Igor's a pretty good guy. He's he gave me his book free at one of Kelly's conventions one time. He was charging a lot of money for it. So I guess I must be. But then I sent him my book too, so I guess that's why. Anyway, gonna have to read this. And of course there's
What do we got here? Oh, there's your book. Is that your book?
here's my book.
You got a new cover, or the cover's new.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. No?
Oh, a little bit. Yeah, this
Didn't you have different pictures on it or something?
not different pictures, but the writing up here might be a little different. I think I changed it.
Okay, that's a nice picture. Oh, then you got glyphs underneath there. Yeah, Sasquatch, a Sasquatch story of my life with the clan of Re.
Here's my book, Jen. Get it while it's hot. Oh
look,
my God!
Oh, look at that! Look at that!
Have you read it?
Yeah. I've read almost all of it.
What do you think?
I love it. It's awesome.
I don't get any books because
I just don't have an autograph in it. Too bad we can't put through
I'm a
this.
celebrity sidekick.
Well, here, hold it up. Open it up. I'll autograph it. A psychic autograph. Open it up to the page.
There.
There you go. What do you want me to say?
Oh, just put your name in it.
That's it? Just my signature? Nothing, no person. Okay. There you go. It's psychically on there. You won't see it, but you'll feel the energy from it.
I want to welcome all
the
the unseen Sasquatch to the show. Every Sasquatch in the universe can come and inhabit our energy and poke us in our feelings so we say funny things or good things. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
anything from this house.
I'm not much of a shameless promoter or anything, but I do think my book was a little different than most.
It's very good. I enjoyed it.
But it's also pretty different
I love
than
the way
most
you
Sasquatch.
going back and talking about the glyphs, because that's one thing that I've really never focused on and never paid attention to. And I've seen them leave them at the gifting tree, and it never clicked to me in my mind that it was messages.
Yeah. So are you making any headway with it now, or are you just getting into it?
Just getting into it now. Yeah,
that's
just
cool.
getting into it.
I don't know where Robin is. I don't think
I talked to her several times this morning. She should be.
Robin coming on too? What's this is going to be? We're going to have all kind of celebrities.
Robin's my buddy. She's my partner in crime on the group.
Oh, she's kind of like your me and Mr. Beans.
Oh yes, we're both admins in Daryl Denton's group, Bigfoot believers and other creatures. And well, today has just been one of those days where you just wish you could take a vacation from it.
Yeah, I'm not an admin. I didn't quite make admin.
Why is there a lot of infighting going on or something? Fussing and fighting?
It's just, you know how they are about posting laughing emojis and making fun of people's photographs, you know. And I had finally had enough of it at 7:00 this morning. I already deleted like 9 comments. So I made my own little post. Please do not use this word in group, and please do not use the laughing emojis, or I'll be forced to remove the comment or remove you. Oh, it has blown up. All their little hands got slapped and they got mad. And they're pouting and having their little ego trips. I'm just like,
I can say it. I'm telling the truth. I can say it. Yeah, well, you might gut somebody with your truth, so you can't say it like that. I'm telling the truth. That people have a right to say something.
So we're
calling me a Nazi.
Nazi.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah,
I've been an admin from back in the time, back in the early days, and different size groups, and it used to be so bad, you know, and everybody was afraid. Oh, as a group, you can't just. And I'd go in there and slash and burn and just kick people out and ban people, and you know what I mean. Because if you have that stuff, the whole vibration of the group drops down.
That's what me and Robin's been trying to do, is remove that energy. You know, the ones that can't resist that ego's drive to push that button and laugh and make an ugly comment instead of just scroll. We've been working tirelessly to get that crap out of the group. It's
and
almost
then they blame the victim. Well, you should have some thicker skin. If you're going to say something like that, you got to back it up. Blah 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 blah. Well,
there she is,
trying to have an excuse for being mean.
Yeah. Hey there, guy.
We got a pretty good group. Of course, we're not nearly as big as you guys because we're more on the.
Nobody should be as big as we are.
But we got pretty good. We got pretty good people. We've only had to kick out a couple people, I think.
I kicked out 3 or 4 of them today.
I think me and Robin's gotten 15 or 20 just this morning.
You kicked out 3.
I kicked out another 6.
Wow, you kicked out 4 today, Beans?
We're the enforcers.
There's these people who get on because we don't really do any background checks on letting people in. They get on there, and then they form they sell you tennis shoes, or there's some $200 free event, and they just kind
Isn't that terrible?
And they don't just do 2 or 3 times real quick because they know they're going to get kicked out.
Yeah.
And we've had a
$200
bunch of females who are there for a date. If anybody's interested, they've been PMing the members. So I've been having to go and remove them.
I know.
What a date.
I cover it till like 2:00 in the morning, and then I try to shut it off. But then I got up one night, and it was like 3:00, and I thought I better check it just in case. And it was like they knew I got off at 10, and by 3:00, it was like the lunatics were running the asylum. I was like up for an hour. It was terrible.
Did you say a dating thing on there?
No, I said the lunatics were running the asylum.
Oh, I thought Jen said there was a dating site on your group.
Oh no.
It was just a girl from another country who wants an American husband, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, well, how about Mr. Beans? He's single.
And we know how important Mr. Beans is.
Yeah, he's looking for well, I don't know if he's looking for a lady. He's kind of being the world's handsomest man. He likes the attention from all the women, you know.
If you ruin his bachelor status, Brian, what's he going to have? I mean, he's got to keep it.
Yeah, nobody wants to. I gotta keep the hope alive.
Keep them women dangling. Keep them dangling.
Well, it's like you guys are all probably too young for this, but well, not Mr. Beans, but it's kind of like when John Lennon, when the fans found out John Lennon was married. Boy, were they pissed!
Oh yeah, they were mad. I remember.
Remember that?
Yep. Yeah. Thank you for pointing out I'm that old, Brian.
Thank you.
Thought we were friends. Yeah, and I thought we were friends. All those great things I said about you now, I'll only say about Sue.
Well, you volunteered to say you remembered it. I didn't think you were that old.
I know.
You don't look a day over. You don't look a day over. Honestly, you look about 51 to me.
Brian, you're
well,
married.
I love you because I'm getting really
old.
old.
Know better than to say
what?
Things. Said you're married. You ought to know better than to say things like that.
What?
Yeah. As long as he goes
Don't
under
throw
what
any
she
numbers
is.
out. Don't
Under
throw
what
any
she is.
numbers
No. I do know better. You always got to go. You always got to go at least 5 years younger than you actually think.
Oh my God! Can we get off my age, people? This is a sore topic.
But I got to admit though, I actually did think you look about 51.
Oh well, thank you, but we got to get off my age. This is a bad topic for me right now. And see, I come on here for harassment purposes.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
57, and I'll be glad to tell you, I'm 57. What are you complaining about, Robin? You're gorgeous.
Oh yeah, okay. But see how sweet you are. This is why I love this woman. This is why I love this woman. We have so much fun. Here's the thing. When Brian got hold of me, you had already gotten hold of me, Jen, and you had said, we got to talk. But I was so busy, I couldn't talk. So then Brian gets hold of me and he says, well, she'll come on the show if you'll come. And I'm like, but I really don't know her other than like through an email or a message. Like I've never talked to her. And I'm like, okay, sure. What the heck? I'll do it. And then Mike B got hold of me and he's like, she'll come on if you'll go on. And I'm like, but I don't know her.
And then we end up admins together. And now we talk all the time.
Oh my God. We talk all the time. We have so much fun. We'd laugh our butts off.
We've been laughing all morning.
You ought to see some of the pictures she has. Oh my God, they're hysterical. Oh my God. We were just, it was bad. It was really bad.
All we've lost is the fur after 3 million years of evolution, right?
Yeah. And it had an orangutan sitting there. And I had just said they're all acting like a bunch of orangutans in the group today. So
I was inside a very fat human male.
And I'm like, poor Brian. Jen and I are already torqued up in pride. I just get poor Brian and Mike. Like I feel bad.
Oh, that's fine. We can just bullshit the whole 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever we go if you want.
I'm gonna say, since when do you limit it to 2 and 3? I usually cut it off, and you guys are still on.
Yeah, Mr. Bean's limit seems to be about 3 hours now. But
yeah, he's doing better.
If it's going good, I'd stay a little longer. But whatever.
So long. That's why I ruined the upholstery on my chair. That cheap Chinese upholstery. You lasts exactly 6 months and it starts to peel.
Yeah, he doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to go over 3 hours because he doesn't want to buy a new chair.
He's a condom.
Hey, let's
He's a
go
condom.
live. Let's go live. What do you say?
Let's
did.
do that.
I
Let's
did.
do that.
I was.
Well, let's start the
Oh.
show. Start with say something about pork and beans there, Sparky.
Have you seen the show before, Jen?
Yes, I have. I've watched several
Okay,
of them.
so you're not allowed to laugh during my introduction because we had somebody else did that, and
There's
not-
only
it's
so
not-
much you can do about it.
it's not funny, right?
Of course not, Brian. I take it with the most sincerity and seriousness I have.
I got a little bit of a cold, so I don't know if I can do it with my usual bravo and gusto and whatever, but bravado.
Well,
But
I
I'll
don't know.
try.
If you're not going to do the voice, I'm not sure I can stay.
I'm gonna try. Hello, everybody. My name is Pork Cunningham, and I'm here with my distinguished co-host, the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver Beans. And this is the Pork and Beans Show, and we are really, really happy to. Oh, I guess it was funny. I even laughed.
Yeah,
We
too
are
happy.
we are thrilled to have special guest Jennifer, or she's a friend, so we'll call her Jen Appleton, and our old buddy Robin Haynes McCray. Hey, we got to give you a name today.
Yeah, every time I'm on, you're like, I'm giving you a nickname, and I'm so afraid of what this is going to be.
There's going to be there's going to be a name come on before the show's over. As soon as I think of it, you're going to notice it down there.
Oh,
And
good.
so
That'll be good.
And so
As much as
anyway,
I'm on here, I need one. Oh,
So
there
anyway,
you go.
if anybody wants to get a heaping helping of pork and beans, you can. What?
I'm
This
very
ser-
serious about this, Brian.
Yeah,
Very.
I can tell.
I know.
A heaping helping of pork and beans. Please like and subscribe to our Facebook channel, The Pork and Beans Show. And you can also join my YouTube channel, which has every episode edited of The Pork and Beans Show. And we got this will be the 200th video on The Pork and Beans
Hey.
Show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now some of them are
But
part
even
1 and part 2, but there are 200 pork and beans videos on there
Oh,
now.
that's cool.
And that's on Sasquatch BC, the true story / the Pork and Beans Show. And I've also got a bunch of my stuff on there and teachings from RE and all kinds of neat stuff. So look what I figured out I'm going to do.
What? You need to call Campbell's and tell them you're advertising for them.
Free advertisement.
Yeah,
There we go. You like that?
I think it works. I think it's
That's called
that makes the
product
whole show.
placement. Product placement.
Yeah.
He's
So
got
you
that
guys
stage he's been working on all day.
So let's forget about talking about Sasquatch and everything because we're having so
Yeah,
much
we got
fun. Let's
stuff
just.
to We have things to do. There's trolls out there Jen and I have to deal with.
So when
I'm going to be
So-
serious. I promise. I'm going to be serious.
no, please don't.
Cereal. Cereal.
I've never been on here yet and been serious, so why not?
Are you
No.
from the planet Sirius or the Sirius star system?
No, because dragons are from, isn't it dragons? The dragons are from the Sirius B or are they Sirius A?
They're
I
from
thought they were
Draco,
B.
the Draco constellation.
Draco.
Yeah, I
thought.
know. There
not
is,
sure
but
that's
the
what it
actual
is.
one of them is got the regular dragons and the other one has the Dracos. So I think
The
it's,
Dracos are dragons.
I know they are, but no, they're actually a dragon hybrided with some other crap with it.
Oh, look at that.
Those things
Put
are
that,
nasty.
put that back up. Put it up. Put up. Put up. Put up. Put
But
up.
what up?
There you go. Yeah, 3 million years of evolution, and we only lost fur.
Isn't that great? Oh my God, we laughed so. She said that to me today. We laughed so hard. Oh my God, we're like voice messaging back and forth, and we were laughing so hard we couldn't understand what the other one was saying. And I'm like, it's true that the inmates are running the asylum whenever we leave. I mean, I went in to take a shower. That's all I did. And I come back and she's like, just took out this many people. I'm like, for God's sakes, it was a shower. It wasn't even a bath. It was a shower. Oh,
One lady, she said, "You mean comply?" I said, "No, I mean behave yourself in group." I don't mean you have to comply.
I
Just
mean, but
behave
we have to.
yourself.
literally, I've posted like these 4 book long like things on playground rules. You know, if you can't be nice in your own sandbox, please do not go in anybody else's.
Exactly.
You know, if you can't choose your words right, please leave and then come back at a later date.
All righty. So, Jennifer, where are you from? Where do
I'm
you
from
reside?
Tennessee. I'm a
Where?
Tennessee girl.
Yeah, I got to come harass her. We were talking about that the other day.
Yep.
I had too much fun there.
Oh, you should. Do you know our friend Arla? She's from Oklahoma. You guys would be great together. You both got that southern growl or southern.
Yep.
What do you call it? Growl.
And Southern drawl.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess so. I'm born and raised in Middle Tennessee. Everybody talks about the way I speak. I'm just like, well, I'm a country girl. It is what it is. I ride motorcycles. I ride horses.
Exactly.
Very much a country girl. And I play with Sasquatch.
Yep.
So you girls seem like you're like best buddies now. So did I instigate that?
Well, yeah, but here's the thing is like when I started doing the shows with her, I didn't know her. And everybody kept calling me. She's like, well, you want your good friend, Jen wants you on the shows with her. And I'm like, I've never spoke to her. We keep planning to talk.
What's the name of your group?
What is the name of the group? Bigfoot Believers.
Okay.
Bigfoot Believers and Other Creatures.
And Other Creatures. The group itself, we have got some amazing and tremendous members that are just, they're phenomenal. We love them. And there's great information in there. And then you get the ones that come in just to see if they can stir that pot and whip it all around. And so when I got on there as an admin, I said they were having problems then. And Jen had posted up something. I said, I'm writing something else up. But we put like all these huge, enormous posts and got so much support on it. And then you still get these other people that come in and they're like, it's like playing whack-a-mole,
Well, I'm not a member of your group. So
I'm putting you in, Mike. You're going in it, big guy.
No, so one of your people should go and share this to the group so it can go live on your group page and
I'm pulling it up right now.
Revenge of the Admins.
Oh my God,
Take revenge on us.
I love that. That is so good.
I find that ironic because I'm not in many groups, but I am in your group, and Beans isn't
I'm
in
going to put
it.
Mr. Beans in. Beans has to be in with us.
I'm actually a moderator, Mr. Beans. I don't quite make admin, but I'm a moderator.
You're a moderator. We've got like all these moderators, and we never see you.
Who?
You don't moderate. You. Do you ever come in and play whack-a-mole with us? I mean,
once in a while, I go in. I go for 2 or 3 days and put a bunch of stuff in, and then I don't do anything for a month or two. I'm kind of erratic.
You're consistent.
Consistently inconsistent. I'll try to get a little more involved.
It's a God-given talent. A God-given talent, Brian. All right, I'm not ignoring you. I'm putting the link up.
Okay.
Just so you know. I'm spreading it. I'm spreading it around.
Yep.
This is historic.
This is historic. I'm in action and working. See, we got a case that has little Bigfoots on it.
I like that very much.
Isn't that cute?
Very cool. Very cool.
I try to keep up.
Very cool. Very cool.
So Jennifer, how did you grow up, and when did you start becoming interested in what? You're laughing at me.
How did you grow up?
How did you grow up?
I never did grow up.
I'm asking how she grew up because I'm trying to figure
out
how
before you grew up.
She's 28, Brian.
I'm trying to figure out how to grow up. So I want to know how she did
That will never happen, sweetheart. I've known you for years, and we don't want you to grow up. You're much better the way you are. I know. You're my buddy. Where's Mrs. I don't see Sue. Where's Sue?
She went to the for a doctor's appointment.
Oh, okay. Then she is forgiven.
Yeah. So how did you become interested in what? Tell us a bit about how you grew up and how things developed for you as far as Sasquatch or Bigfoot or whatever you want to call them,
I
and
grew up on
just paranormal in general.
All right. I grew up on a farm in Middle Tennessee. My father was what they called a flying saucer chaser back in the early 70s, back when we had that wave of UFOs come through Middle Tennessee and the Mid-South, and I think it's on 73, 74. And he, with a group of others, and this was before MUFON was formed, so they formed their own little clique, and they would go investigate UFO sightings, Bigfoot sightings, anything of that nature. And I think they had a lot to do with my involvement with everything that's happened in my life. But my first memory of or introduction to the Sasquatch people was I was about 3 years old. I had gone picking buttercups. I remember as clear as it was yesterday. And I'm looking on the ground and I'm picking flowers, and I stomp my foot on something that's really big and really hairy, and it's a foot. And I follow it up to the most beautiful face I have ever seen in my life, the most beautiful honey-colored eyes I've ever seen.
Oh,
And
the eyes will get you every time.
the eyes will melt you.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
she was looking at it with me with so much love, just absolute love. That child that I was, I offered her a buttercup and just smiled at her. And that's really my memory of seeing a Sasquatch. And I was a little bitty thing. And it just progressed from there. The house that I was raised in until I was probably 10 or 11 was haunted. It was a girls' school dormitory for Marshall County schools. And the headmistress had died in it many years before we ever moved in. I think they closed it in the 50s and it just remodeled into a home. But it was nothing for me to be laying there asleep and feel a cold breeze or a rub on my leg and hear the side door open as she's coming from the downstairs and through the hallway and up to my bed just to wake me up. So that started the paranormal, being raised in a haunted house per se.
Yeah.
The first encounter when I was young was at that same location.
Can you go into
just progressed?
Can you go into more detail about that encounter? How long was it? What did you feel from it, and what did she look like? That kind of thing.
Yeah, she was a beautiful coppery red color, just gorgeous from head to toe. Her skin was very supple, but it looked leathery, and it was like a brownish copper color. Her eyes were a color of honey, and they just radiated love. She was sitting on a tree that had fallen.
Uh-huh.
And behind her were 3 of her children, and they were small. They didn't look much bigger than me. And I just remember feeling overwhelming love. I mean, just this tremendous force of love coming from her, so much that it was welling like tears. Her eyes were moist from the emotion she was sending to me. And that's really about all I remember from that first incident, because I was very, very young. The next one I had, I was about 6.
Hang on a second. Sorry, but the fact that you were 3 years old and you remember it so clearly, I mean, it's very dramatic. But most people don't remember. I don't remember anything when I was 3.
I remember them when I was 3.
I'll tell you what I do remember. It's her taking me back.
I was in prison when I was 3.
Put on the prison me through the
There was a nail file and a baby.
Let me out.
It's one of my first memories. Yeah. And it's very unusual for humans to be able to remember that far back. Yeah. But it was such an event for me. It was an awakening, an enlightening for me at such a young age. Apparently because they were going to be in my life, my entire life, and they have been. And I have absolutely never forgotten it. Never forgotten the feel of her hand, the way her feet looked, the way her hair felt, look in her eyes, nothing. I mean, they could have eaten me if they meant me harm. They did not.
Did she touch you, or did you touch her, or anything other than her foot?
Touched me. She heard my father calling my name, Jennifer Lynn, because he was calling for me because I'd gotten out of his sight. And she looked toward his voice, and I looked toward his voice. So she turned me around and patted me on my bottom, and she took me back down the hill, and she put a foot on the bottom strand and raised it up and ushered me through. She sure did.
What did you tell?
It was absolutely a mother.
Yeah. Well, of course we know that about them anyway. But what did you tell your dad, or did you tell him anything?
Dad watched it happen. And it
Oh my,
scared Dad.
oh my God.
His dad was standing in the horse pasture watching her do this, and it literally scared him to death. And he remembered it clearly.
But when but you must have told him that she was friendly and did you tell him what you felt? Did he change his mind at all after you talked to him?
He didn't change his mind until later when he met one. But now when he met one, it was on a UFO. It was up. He had been abducted, and he was introduced to a Yeti or a Sasquatch being on side a ship. And it was apparently much larger than that first one he saw bringing me back home.
Well, that's interesting data because there's reports of something like 14% of the people who are awake on a ship, 14% of those actually see a Sasquatch, either a tall kind or the short kind. So that's total. I'll give you validation on that. For all the people out there who say Sasquatch and spaceships, well, they're more common.
They are. Oh yeah, I've watched them going in and out.
Yeah, Father said that they used him for a breeder. And on one of his trips up to on the ship, and he caused this interest by his interest in chasing after the UFOs in this little clique that they were in, apparently. But he was taken to one that was standing very stationary. And they told him, don't worry, he won't harm you. We just want you to recognize him and see him and know that he's not going to harm you. And he was instructed to walk all the way around him, to touch him, to talk to him, and he never moved. He said it was a tall, gigantic black Sasquatch being. And he said it was the biggest being that he's ever seen in his life. Dad was 6 foot, and he said this thing had to be every bit of 10. And he said at least 6 feet across the shoulders. He said it's the biggest creature he'd ever seen in his entire life. And they kept telling him over and over, there's nothing to fear. He will not harm you. So that was his introduction. Mine was much easier out in the woods picking bugs.
Yeah. Well, when you said breeder, do you mean they were using him to
sexual purposes, to take his semen?
Right. But what were they
He
going to
said
do
that
with
they
it?
had a way to, that it was an actual physical contact from all of his memories that he had. And he said that they could make themselves look like the most beautiful woman in the universe, but you had no idea what they really looked like as they were doing this. He talked about it for years.
What do you think the purpose of that would be? They're just
Hybrids.
Yeah. And the cryptids. Yeah, they make the cryptids. I mean,
Exactly.
we have government that do it. We have some that are naturally born here, but primarily it is through the ETs. Like if you go back and look at the Ebens, when they were on Serpo, they actually made Dogman there, but they're not the only ones that did make Dogman. And it just depends on what kind of dog they used to do it. But they had other cryptids there as well. So it's like, all the cool ETs do it. So everybody,
all the cool ETs are doing this.
All the cool kids do it.
That just screws the pooch out of evolution.
Yes, it does.
Because okay, we got this evolution track, and you can track back the lineage to well, that's if they're upgrading people every 1,000 years or something, or 500 years they upgrade them. How do you know if we're out of Africa or out of China? We don't know any of that stuff actually. So that just kind of throws the whole history of human existence and Sasquatch existence, because some people actually believe. I think Melba Ketchum actually believes that the Sasquatch are after humans, and which made me scratch my head.
They're before.
It's because of the DNA she's reading.
Back 15,000.
Huh?
They're predated back 15,000. They've got to be at some point. They have to be after humans because there's human DNA in those genomes off the mitochondrial side. So they have to have. There's human in it.
Yeah, but so there's also human DNA in the Dogman, and there's also human DNA in the Goathead man. So you got to take that whole thing out of the equation.
The lizard man.
There's no who came first, and
it's in all of them.
Who's on second? You know what I'm saying? And in 15,000 years, they got footprints of Sasquatch with the dinosaurs that goes back millions of years. So that's what I'm saying. The whole idea of who came first and who hit Johnny with a stick, none of that stuff counts anymore.
And, we're doing the cryptid genome project now. So we've already got the Dogman pulled. We're waiting for that. and they're working on the genomes, and then we're taking any other cryptid samples as well. And so we'll have that back. But I think what we're going to find is just this trend through every cryptid out there. There seems to be this mix of the ET, human, and whatever. You know, like lizard man. If we were to have samples from lizard man, I would guarantee you it's going to come back lizard, human, ET. Like you said, the goat man is going to be goat, human, ET. I've seen 2 of them now that have the head of a possum. That would come back as possum, human, and ET.
Wow.
This one that's running around the side of the house that I have no idea what the heck that darn thing is. It's nice. It doesn't bother anybody. I mean, you know, it's got all the same abilities. And, you know, that's what you're going to find right down that tree. Like the cat people, I've got that one picture of a mule that was out in the front yard, and she's a cat person. Mm-hmm. She looks like a domestic. You've seen that one, I think, Jen.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. And so she looks like, not, people think of the cat people and they think like the Lyrians. And that's not necessarily true. It's whatever happens to be picked up. You know, it's like picking up a stray dog or a stray cat. And that's what they're crossing them with. So depending where that animal is taken is what kind of the look that it's going to have, but it's still going to be a feline. Like a mule looks like she's domestic feline crossed with human and ET.
You've seen that picture of that one here.
Yeah.
She
you know, now I'm looking at Mr. Beans and I'm thinking, does he have Goatman somewhere back?
It's possible. We've often thought that, Brian, you know.
Because I'm a god, you know, you forgot that Pan.
He's a satyr. He's a satyr.
Pan was a god, and it was from the time of Pan. It was the first cryptid. First cryptid on Earth was Pan.
Well, you know, some of that hybridization, I guess, could explain why a lot of the Sasquatch look really, really human. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them look more ape. Yeah, I know Ari looks quite human.
Yeah, Shadow's head is the exact shape as one of our men's human head. His face, he's got the white Caucasian skin. He's got the real short hair all over his face, and then it gets here and it's like it's got grease in it. It's just waxed back. It's just a riot. He's got hair in his ears. He's got it on his eyelids. There's no place on this boy that does not have hair. And he came out and got like 10 feet from me, you know, stood out in the open. So it was really easy, you know, to see what he looked like. But he had every human feature there was other than hair. He didn't have the massive shoulders. I mean, he's gotten bigger, obviously, but he's still as big as he is. I'm sitting in the seat. He still has not gotten as broad as, like, per se, you would have expected. You know, he's still got more of our type human body. He does.
And who's Shadow specifically?
Shadow's that one I told you about before. He's been following me. Like, I would go out in the woods from 2009 forward. And from the second I moved on that place, excuse me, I knew he was there. He showed me a picture of him in my head. And so I would go out every day, 2 or 3 times a day, and I had a pattern I walked because they liked the predictability. And I would walk it, and I would hear him next to me walking. And sometimes I would see like footprints being made in the dirt next to me. Or if there was snow, I would watch footprints being made next to me. You know, if it was fall, I would hear the crunch of the leaves. I mean, and we're talking, when I say next to me, like 3 feet, right? You know, and he would go everywhere I went. And I just started calling him my shadow because he shadowed me everywhere I went. And I would tell him, you know, I know you're there. I mean, you've already showed me what you look like. I don't know what the big surprise is. And then he finally one day just walked out in the yard next to me. So, yeah.
Awesome. So Jennifer, why don't you tell us, so, okay, you had your first encounter when you were 3. Then what happened? Because obviously that was an introduction, I suppose.
It was just an introduction, yeah. And when the next one I remember, I was about 5 or 6, and I'm at my grandmother's, and she's doing laundry that day, and she had no indoor plumbing, so she had one of those old ringer type washers. So we were on the back porch. I was helping her. She had a tobacco patch about 150 yards straight up a low rise hill, and it had a wire fence that bordered it all the way across. It was about, I'd say, 45, 50 yards in length, and about the size of a quarter of an acre. And I happened to look up, and this time I see a tall black one walking the full length of the fence up at the tobacco field. And I start screaming, Granny, look, it's the bear man. It's the bear man. They've come back to see me. And Granny turned around. She said, what, baby? What are you talking about? And I said, look, it's the bear man. She grabbed me up by my shirt. She dragged me into the house. It was middle of summer. It was really hot. She said, she slammed, locked the door. She called my dad, said, bring a rifle. There's a monster here on this hill.
Not
So
the
of course,
greatest
Daddy
road.
came, you know, hill folk, country people. So Daddy came and he looked, he saw the prints. He came back and said, oh, no, Robbie, it's okay. It was probably just a bear. And she calmed down a little bit and he took me home. And he just cut his eyes at me. He said, there wasn't no bear, sissy. I said, I know, Daddy. It was bear man. But I was little, I was just calling him a bear man because he looked to me in my young eyes like a walking bear, but he was just a lot larger. He was double the height of that fence, and that fence was at least 4.5 feet tall. So he was a big boy, and he knew I was watching him from that distance because he turned his head and he looked right at me and kept looking at me as he finished his little walk across the front of the tobacco patch. So it was just like, hello, we're here.
What do you ladies think? Like, I think that they have their eyes on us, even like I think we have past lives with them and and stuff of that
100%.
nature, whatever. So I mean, I think that they've already got their people pegged as soon as they're born and whatever, and then they introduce themselves to them at when time is right. But what do you think on that, Jennifer?
I think you're absolutely correct. I need to cut this phone off. I think you're absolutely right. It's some kind of past life connection, and it's a bloodline. Follow bloodlines.
Yeah.
Now, see, I'm the only one in my family that has any of it, or has any. The only ability that my mom has is she can speak to spirits, but I'm the only one that has anything else. And none of my, like my kids, they have certain ones of my kids that they really like. Well, but for me, they've told me since God, I can't remember how little, that I've done this life with them multiple times. This isn't the first go around.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing about myself.
I'm pretty
so
sure
I always
star
able to
people-
see light around people's
pretty
bodies.
sure
and
it's a star people
them
too,
feel them.
because they've been doing this breeding program for a long time. So that means we got friends in high places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've never asked you this, Robin, but do you,
What?
and maybe it's personal and you don't have to tell us if you don't want, but do you know, are you privy to any information on any of your past lives as Sasquatch?
Yeah.
You want to talk about it a little bit?
Well, I mean, not a lot. I mean, it was just a matter of things that they taught me in previous lifetimes, different things that they taught me to do. Apparently the healing work. So I do healing work. You know that. I do healing work on them. I have for a lot of years now. And according to them, I've been doing that for over 1,000 years with them. And they've told me that multiple times, different ones, not just the same one, but multiple ones. Different things to protect myself, if you will. They have said, this will work for you because it was made for you over 1,000 years ago. And I mean, just that kind of stuff. And a lot of the teachings from them in multiple lifetimes, like they'll send me to places to do a job. They send me out and they'll be like, okay, you're going to go and fix this and do this or protect this or whatever. And I'll go where they tell me to go, and I'll get there and I'll say, okay, what do you want me to do? And they'll say it. And I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. And they said, oh, but you've already done it before. In other lifetimes, you've already done it. I'm like, but is there a book around I could read? What do you want me to do? And then it's like, just instinct kicks in and it just automatically comes out of me. And it's like, I'm sitting there like dumbfounded because I'm doing this work that I don't even remember ever being taught, but it's because I did it in other previous lifetimes with them.
That's interesting because, as you know, they're working with me with healing too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
because I remember I told you that they were going to do that years ago, and you said no, and I'm like, Brian, it's going to happen.
But it's interesting because I remember when I was a kid, I was thinking I can heal stuff. I don't even know why I thought it.
Yeah.
But then when I got connected, well, when the Sasquatch introduced themselves, not connected because it's always there, but they started. Well, you know how they connect you with different people. They connected me with a really advanced healing teacher, and she helped me out and helped me remember. And it's and it was just like, oh my, and like you said, it was all, I'm getting tingles. They're giving me the thing.
Yeah, it's from Ari.
It's all intuitive with me too. Like I just kind of knew, right? No training or anything. I just
No, like that's the thing. I have never once read a book on this stuff. It's like I do the energy work, I teach the energy work, I teach the empathy, I teach all or empathetic work, all that stuff that I do. And I work with people, excuse me, on all kinds of stuff. You know that.
yeah.
And it's like I didn't, and they're like, where did you learn to do this? My God, it works. And I'm like, I didn't learn it in a book. Like I learned it from them in multiple lifetimes. And I don't think people really realize the extent that what goes on in your life now, there's always that connection to the past. You bring all those lives with you. There's always, your soul remembers when your brain doesn't. Like if you go and you walk by somebody in the grocery store and you feel this pull towards them and you don't understand why.
Yeah.
Because that soul remembers that other soul. It doesn't matter if it's a friend, a love, whatever. The souls remember what the brains can't. And they don't forget over time. It's just a progression through all these, thousands, millions, whatever years. And it's the same thing with your abilities. Like you might have picked up abilities from 700 years ago, and then some that you got 1100 years ago, but now you're over here and now they've compiled up. And I'm not kidding you. They'll send me, or I'll be at home and they'll say, we need you to do this, and do it. Because some of it I do on site, some of it I do remotely. And they'll be like, well, do this. I can remember one time they wanted me to do some energy work and they're like, we need you to spin it blue. I said, what are you talking about? Spin it blue. I've never spun anything blue. Oh, yes, you have. You just don't remember. You're going to remember. And it was like almost instantaneously. I remembered the whole thing and how to do it. It was like they wanted me to clear the land, bless the graves, open vortexes, open portals, all that stuff, do a rift, and tear in the veil and all these things. And it's like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like literally village idiot here, not a clue. But then it comes time to do that work or to use that. And you remember it from those other years, but it's your soul that transforms. It's not a physical body, it's your soul.
Yeah.
But what's really creepy is we had talked, I think a year or so ago, about the big battle. Do you remember when we were talking about that on here? That one time there's the big battle that's not fought with our physical people, it's fought in the paranormal realm. And they have talked about that battle for years. And as that's happened, and as all of these things have gone on with our people as well, it's like they're pulling together all of these forces of people. And I know Jen knows what I'm talking about.
I do.
Absolutely. And if you notice, all of those people, if you really think hard about it, pay attention to conversations and how you feel around those people, you pulled them from a past life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Duke Sullivan. I know for a fact he was my younger brother that annoyed the crap out of me. He still does. Only this time he gets to be older. It's like, but I mean, that when you come up against and see somebody, or if you have that connection with somebody, it can be that you knew them on any level, whether it was somebody you got along with, whether you didn't. Those souls do not forget, and they will carry over time, and it doesn't go away.
I must have been your younger sister.
Probably. You look like family. That's probably why we get in so damn much trouble. We do. We get in a lot of, we're a lot of work for Daryl Dutton.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember when you told me to put that. Remember when I was saying that there was somebody trying to get into my.
Yep. And I taught you how to do the energy stuff and to shield yourself.
And boy, it worked big time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
It's amazing.
It's really crazy because the more I work with people, yes, I'm teaching them and yes, I'm helping them, but it triggers memories for me as well.
Mm.
So it's like I will be talking to somebody and working with them, and then all of a sudden it's like diarrhea of the mouth because I've got all this other information. I'm like, oh, cool, another thing I get to remember. Yay. But it's all a progression. And as time goes by, it comes forward more. I don't think it comes forward all your life, but I think once you hit like that 40 year on up, I don't know if they think you're more mature now and you can handle it, or, well, they're going to kick the bucket soon. We don't have to worry about them squealing, but it just comes like forward. We'll shut them up. We're going to kill them off.
Anyway, it just the confirmations, like with your story and like what I experienced, it's just amazing when we get into this topic so deeply. and without any filters, and just because we're open to it and whatever. It's just amazing what you can discover just from what somebody else said that correlates with what you experience.
Well, yeah, and this remembering the souls, it can be, a friend, it can be anybody, like literally, I have a friend out in Texas. I'll go to my gravesite. I knew her in a previous life because I remember seeing her there. Like I actually remember the setting. I remember what was going on. I know I saw her. Melba Ketchup and I. I call her I know. I've got my throat is clogged today, and I keep choking all day. But I call her my soul sister. I know I knew her in a previous life. And we were thick as thieves then, we're thick as thieves now. She's my go-to, and I'm her go-to. It works. Has nothing to do with the Sasquatch. It's just us in general. I mean, 90% of our conversations have nothing to do with them.
Yeah. So Jennifer, do you have any kind of similar kind of things?
All of what you just said. I have studied Reiki. I'm level 3 Reiki practitioner. So I've been working with the light and running energy all my life. I've seen ghosts all my life, auras around people, empathy, mind speak, all of it. But it's always been there with me. It just became stronger. When I was 19, I was in a car crash and I died. I stayed in the coma for 2 weeks. I just didn't want to come back to this reality, to this world. So what I learned there, the truths that I learned when I was in that light where we all go to, it just made the sensitivities that I have that much stronger when I decided to come back and finish my job, apparently.
Okay, so now you got me intrigued, because next show, this Thursday, we've got a really fascinating near-death experience guy. We're going to have a different kind of show this Thursday, and
cool.
And it's going to be great. And I think his name is John J. Davis, I think, or John Davis. Anyway, so what did you learn there? What did you experience? So you had an NDE?
Yes, I did. What happened?
Talk about it.
I was in a head-on car crash. I had massive upper body and head trauma. But the reason they had to put me into a medically induced coma is I'm blood type specific. I'm A negative RH factor. And they gave me universal blood, which instantly began to shut down all of my organs. So that triggered me. I died right there on the table. And then they said that I died probably 10 or 12 times in a 2-week period before they could get my body back balanced enough and the swelling to come down out of my chest and my brain for me to agree to wake up. But I went to a place to where the only thing that exists is love. That's the only emotion there, because it's the only emotion that's ever been created there. What I saw was a river of light. But the river was like water, but it was pure energy, and it had every color of the rainbow in it. It was magnificent, and it felt so warm to be in that light. And I could see people from my past, my great-grandmothers, my great aunt, my great uncle, my grandfather, people I recognized and knew on the other side of this huge flow of energy. And I was in this flow, determined to get across. And each time this gigantic, beautiful being with no real physical form, but yet would speak to me in my mind and say, it's not your time. You've got to go back. And I was like, I'm not going back to that. You. And I just kept fighting to trying to get across. But when you're in this flow of energy, you know everything and everyone that has ever lived, that is alive, that will ever live. You know it. You're a part of that. It's a collective consciousness, and you're a part of it, and you're in that flow, and you literally know everything. No matter what universe, no planet, world, it doesn't matter. You know absolutely. You're plugged into that library. And when I came back, of course, I had to recover from all the physical trauma I'd had. But when I came back, I carried that knowledge with me to an extent that I knew what was truth and what was a lie in a split second. Somebody could walk by me and I could feel their emotions. I could know exactly what was wrong with them and why. And I had been able to see people's auras around their bodies all my life. I've been able to see the deceased and even deceased animals my entire life. But it seems like that experience that my soul chose for me intensified my gifts or my abilities or what I had already had by tenfold. So
Yeah.
it's just, yes, I can so relate with Robin. Especially from after being in that energy and being what most people refer to as heaven is exactly where I was. I absolutely did not want to leave it. And that all knowing that library of knowledge and wisdom, I didn't want to leave that.
That's,
and,
go ahead.
And, I still have a cord of myself over there. And those energies will still try to follow that cord back to me. And that's when I had to learn how to center, how to ground, how to protect, how to shield, how to open a vortex and invite it right back where it came from. I've had the recently deceased come to me in dream speak and say, I'm trapped. I'm in a dark place. I'm like, no, you're not. You only perceive it as darkness. And then I'll open up a portal and usher them back through. And they're right there back into that light, which they were there already. But their belief system, their belief patterns that they had as a human, as they were living their human experience, trapped them into perceived area of darkness because they were afraid to go to hell. They didn't realize that they could go to heaven, and there's really no hell or heaven. It's just that one place.
Yeah.
And they get trapped. I call it the in-between. And you have to open their eyes and open their minds and help their souls see that they really are already surrounded in light because they are light. Everything in the universe is created by energy, even us. I mean,
energy, vibration. Well, into spirit, they go right back and forth because I know I work with several people where I talk to the dead for them. And they do. If they want to come back and forth, they can go between it. I mean, she's right. It's like a one-way street. It's not compartmentalized like people seem to think it is, as far as I'm concerned, in my dealings with it. And they do. I have a good friend of mine, her husband passed away 5 years ago. Her husband is still in her house. I'm like, do you want me to help you find your way? And no, I'm staying here with her. It's not time for her to go yet. I'll wait for her and we'll go together.
Aww.
Well, I think that's a beautiful thing. I mean, is that just the most beautiful thing to think that somebody loves you enough that they would, their soul would stay there just so that way they could, actually be with you?
That really is amazing. Jennifer, once again, that's why I love this show and so many other, and not just for the things that I get out of it, but everybody, who's open seems to get that there's a light bulb moments when we speak. And it verifies some things that other people experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like for you, when you said about the all-knowing or whatever, like I didn't have a near-death experience, but I had a love zap where I had very similar stuff, where I had an all-knowing, all connected, all knowledge. I didn't even want to ask any questions because I didn't have to. It was just, and it was pure love. And so I was kind of like the Sasquatch. The Sasquatch took me there and showed me what that was all about, and it's very similar to what you had.
It's the love bubble.
What can you say about Sasquatch people if they can take you to heaven and bring you back? That's what can you say about that?
They're pretty good people.
I'm going to tell you, years
that's why I
ago,
call them archangel class earth spirits, because they can do stuff that's archangel stuff.
Yeah. Years ago, I did some work for the Bigfoot, and when I did, they, because I can do the astral project and stuff, and they had me go to this cave, and I was like, okay, so now I'm here, and it looked like a big vaulted door, and they're like, just put your back up against this door, and I was like, okay, and I don't know what I'm doing, it was really crazy because I was talking to somebody very close to me on the phone at the time when they started telling me to do all this, and I'm like trying to listen to that person and trying to do it at the same time. So I go and I put my back on the door, and the whole vaulted door just flipped. And I'm like floating down this tunnel, and it's the brightest white, like you can't see through it because it's just so bright. And as you go farther down that tunnel, the more love you feel. And it's nonstop. And they took me in, and I saw the water like you did. I saw it looked like the tree of life, and I saw the butterflies and, the mountains and the grass and the feeling of peace. It makes you cry because you can't believe that it feels. And it is what it really is. And I said, why am I here? Because I'm thinking, this thing that I just went up against, I thought I kind of kicked its tush, to be honest with you. I didn't think I was dead. So I was like, please tell me I'm not dead. And they're like, no, you know, you did a good job. It was a job well done. And now we want to show you what you have to look, you know, this is what will find you in the afterlife, but it's not your time yet. And I was like, I wasn't even hurt. So I knew it wasn't anything like that. But they said, because, you know, this is what you did and this is what you achieved. We want you to be able to see this and feel this. And I was doing a lot of work with people at that time that had passed or had loved ones that had passed. And I was like, okay. And it was absolutely tremendous. Like, if I really focused on it, I just cry like a baby. It's ridiculous. And then when it was time to go, they said, okay, you'll be back here someday. And I was like, okay. And it was the same thing going out. And when it was over, it was the most incredible, peaceful experience I've ever encountered in my life. I mean, I've never known peace like that. I mean, obviously I will again, because they showed me.
That's the peace, that peace and that love that you're talking about is exactly what I felt when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
Yep.
so intense. There's no way, there's no comparison. That you,
No.
love
Mm-mm.
for her children is nothing compared to this love that you feel when you're there. And I was so angry at having to come back here. I stayed mad at everybody, God, and everything for a year. I was
Oh,
mad.
wow.
Furious.
But when you look
You
at
took me to that
you-
beautiful place and you put me back here, but now I understand.
But if you look at the Sasquatch people, okay, everything they do, and of course we already know their energy and the vibration, but everything they do, everything that encompasses them is at a much deeper level than we are, because they're more high, the high frequency's higher. Okay, when you've got that higher energy and the higher frequency, that means your emotions are more in tune than would be like a regular person.
Mhm.
And you're now experiencing it with their frequency. So what happens is when they like you, when they love you, when they're mad at you, all of those emotions are heightened at such a degree, it can scare our people. Like when the first time they put that love bubble on me, I was like bawling like a baby, but it was the most pure love I'd ever felt in my entire life. And I thought, I don't ever want to leave this. Like, I
Yeah.
don't ever want to leave this. You know,
Don't
you
take
can't
out of it.
imagine.
I want to stay.
Yep. But the thing is like when it comes to their children, you know, we consider ourselves protective parents, or some of us anyway. And it doesn't even begin to compare to the depth of love that they feel for theirs. And if you watch, the tall whites are the same way.
Right.
They often talk about the tall whites, and the love that they have for their children is just uncomparable to anything else out there. But it is, in my opinion, it is with the Sasquatch, because, you know, if they've been angry at somebody, well, it wasn't me, because I can pick up all that, I could feel it. And I'm like, that is not just anger. That's like mutilation anger, you know. But they do when they love, and they can project that love bubble on you, and it will literally drop you to your knees. Jen knows what I'm talking about, because she's
I
felt
sure
it before.
I sure
And I
do.
know Brian has. Brian
That's
has,
what-
because
yeah.
Ari's done that to him.
Yes.
Well,
We've
it
been-
was actually Roger saying.
Oh, was it? Well, no, the one time we were doing this show. and
Oh
Ari
yeah. Okay, well, yes, he
Remember?
has, but my love zap was Raja say, and I was instantly weeping, like,
Oh, yeah.
and not
There's
not
no
just
way to avoid it.
not just tears rolling down my cheeks. I was,
But when they let you experience
so
that,
beautiful. Yeah.
once they let you experience that, it's, if you're empathetic, if you are an empath, a true empath,
Right.
once the Sasquatch let you experience that kind of a deep love that just goes to your core, it carries over throughout your life. And it's not that it's
Oh,
their
yeah.
love or any type of magic. It's now your heart and your soul is experienced that kind of love. And that's the kind of love you're going to have.
And that's what
it does.
Times 3.
Yep.
That's what
And
they
see,
gave.
they came to me when I was toddlers. I mean, I can remember, and that's the
Yeah.
only thing I really remember a lot of when I was a toddler. And my mom, it was funny because my mom would tell me stories, and she'd say, you could barely talk, but what little bit you could say was about them. Like, you were a toddler.
Oh.
We didn't know what you were talking about, you know? And then by the time I was 4, I'm out in the woods looking for stick structures. What 4-year-old knows about stick structures, for God's sakes? You know, and yeah. Well, you know, that's why you and I get along so well. We're both freak zones. Okay. So it's like, I'm looking in the sky for the star people, and I'm looking for the cryptids, and everywhere I would go. Yeah. I mean, everybody thought I was a Fruit Loop, you know, and I'm like, okay, well, you guys keep looking over there. I had a friend that was actually, she's in our group, Jen, and she is the most wonderful girl. I just love her. I went to school with her, and she has a beautiful heart and soul. She is just as good as they come. And we hung out all the time. And we had gone out in the woods and we played outside and did all these things. And now she's in the group, and I haven't talked to her in a long time. I always think about her, but you know, you get busy and you don't connect like you should. And that's, you know, my fault. And I had put up some of the pictures of the group of, you know, my clan, and she had made a comment on it. And I think it was the one that I put up of Zerky, the baby. He's, you know, that came out. So, I mean, you can see everything on it. I mean, good Lord. It was like, please just stand in front of the camera and smile. You know, it was ridiculous. So she put a like on it. And I said, yeah, I said, I guess you didn't really realize how crazy I was when I was a kid. And she came back, and I forgot all about this till she said it. And it just triggered all these memories. And she said, no, I remember when we were kids, we were out in the woods and you were pointing out the Bigfoot people. And she said, I had all kinds of paranormal experiences too, which probably had nothing to do with me. But, it, you know, she had her own paranormal experiences. And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot all about that until she said that.
That's awesome.
Have you ladies had, I'm going to get in trouble because I've mentioned this story many, many times, but I think it's important in the context of the NDEs. Have you ladies ever had a pre-birth experience? Because I actually had one. You ever had?
What do you mean by pre-birth? Like, I remember things I did in my past lives. I remember being a baby.
No,
I remember all that.
I remember. I'll
What do
make
you mean
this as
by
quick as I
pre-birth?
can. I'll make it as quick as I can because I've talked about it before. But it just talks about how, you know, we're, you know, like we live many, many lives. It's just another confirmation that goes along with what we were all saying. Well, I was just standing out on my back porch looking towards the mountains. All of a sudden, it wasn't in my mind's eye, or I wasn't imagining it, or it wasn't a download. I was actually on the other side. And I knew,
I've done that.
and I was there with another person, and I knew, and I had the knowing that it was me. And I also had the knowing that it was pre-birth up to my incarnation as Brian Bland. And this other person and I were planning out what we were going to do in this lifetime. And it felt like it was a kind of
mine happened when I was a kid, and it was kind of frightening for me because, you know, and Jen is another one that can confirm this. You're born with these abilities. They kick in when you're born. It's a progression and they get stronger over time, but they're there.
But
you know,
how,
if it's a natural ability, you just automatically use it. You don't even know you're using it.
But the point of this is the point of this. What I'll just wrap up mine. The point of this is that, you know, how they say that we plan our lives or whatever, our situations and what we want to accomplish and all that before we come into this incarnation. Well, I actually experienced that. So that really, you know, made that real for me. That we actually really do, because I mean I was there and I lived it, and I knew it was me. So it's true. It's true. Yeah. It's very, very true. Hey, we got a real trouble now because we got a Tennessean and a Oklahoman on the show. and both of you guys sound
I wonder where she
got that twang. Got that twang. Say something.
I've been in the tent in the storm. My hair, I was gonna wash my hair, but it got so wet I didn't even have to wash it. I just came in. Now we had rain and a storm, which was awesome for this time in Oklahoma. So I was out enjoying it.
I thought you got a perm at the beauty parlor or something.
Was it the wind that blew over that lawn chair? There was.
Yes.
That was amazing. I thought that can't be Sasquatch. That's got to be the wind.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I went back and watched that. I took it down because so much of it was blurry. But one of the guys was in that. And every time I would pan over that way, it would just get totally blurry.
Yep.
And then it got to the point to where it just stayed blurry. And I was like, well, you know, that's kind of how that works sometimes. So
were you out playing in the rain?
I love
it. If it's a nice rain, I am out there. Like, you know,
my gosh. We had thunder and lightning, and the wind didn't come till after I quit videoing. But I got some hilarious photos when I was headed back to the house from the woods. But yeah, when it storms, I'm going to go out and get in a tent. So, I mean, I sleep in it every night, but I love a good thunderstorm.
No, I will like literally, if it's a nice rain where, thunder, lightning, massive winds or anything like that, and it's a nice rain, I am outside in the rain. I love, it washes everything off. It purifies you.
Yep.
It connects you with the elements. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. It's the best. It
is.
really is.
Have you been listening to the show before you came on, Ma?
I just actually looked at anything, and then I had watched that and done a couple of things, and then I had to cook, and then and then I saw your deal that said, we were, you were on, and I was like, oh wow. And then I got your message and said, oh well, what the heck.
Do you know Jennifer?
No, I don't. I don't guess. If I do, I don't know I do, but I probably do and don't even know that I do.
Well, Jen, this
clear on that.
this is actually Arla Collett Williams or Collette. You know the name? You know the name, probably.
So the name sounds familiar, yes.
I've been around forever. Actually, many times I've been around forever.
That's a Beach Boys song, isn't it? I Get Around.
Yeah.
I don't think she meant that kind of get around, Brian. I'm telling you, back to the women today.
Yeah, I tell you what, when Brian sent me that link and then I looked to see what was going on, I was like, oh no, that's even. This woman's got to go on. We need that female energy to and now watch Mike or somebody else will come on. We'll be back at the it's always good to have a lot of women around. It just is.
That female energy tends to pick up a lot.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, it's not a sexist comment. It's the truth. There are men that have abilities 100%. Like I know a ton of them, and I've worked with a lot of them that have abilities. But there's something about that female energy that tends to ground even the male energy.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do.
Well, wear it down at least.
I
ground
we have certain things we need to do.
I was just getting ready to say something nice about you too.
Don't. He's gonna go all day.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm all ears.
Okay, it was going to be about you and Beans. How awesome you two males are, and the masculine energy that you carry. That is, Beans, stop that. That you carry.
Beans. We already knew. We knew where that was directed.
Yeah. But you guys are so in tune with your feminine energy as well, and I love that.
Look what I'm wearing today.
You're a giant beach boy. Okay, he's one of the beach boys. I'm telling you. In one of his past lives, he was a beach boy.
Or one of their parents.
He's a peach boy.
Peach boy.
That was good.
Well, I thank you. What a beautiful love-in this is. So,
Jen, can I ask you a question?
Virtual hugs.
Jen, can I ask you a question?
Of course, Bean.
Do you have one of those little cameras on that kind of follows you around?
I'm just using
GoPro.
Is it like your phone? Is that what it is?
It's my iPad.
Oh, it's your iPad. So I just wondered because it kind of moves around a little bit, and I thought that's cool. Maybe she's got one of those cameras that moves around.
No, it's stationary here on my desk.
Okay, cool.
Awkward silence there.
So
all right, ask the next question.
You see something moving behind me, Bean?
No.
Let me know if you do. It's not unusual. I have some of the most amazing orb pictures y'all could ever see. I'll have to send them and share them with you.
Well, you could do that if you wanted. If you send them to my chat, I can put them on and we can look at them. But you want to?
Well, I
Yeah.
have something to say about this near-death experience kind of a thing that everybody's. I think that's one of the number one indicators about the awakening in the next evolutionary thing is
Mhm.
when a certain amount of people really take it to heart about what this near-death experience means, which is that we're energy beings, that we're eternal, that everything is
It
love,
just keeps
that it's
going.
all come out of sacredness. When that kind of fundamental understanding hits a certain threshold across the globe, then we're going to, that's to me is going to be the event when it shifts from being a rational material reductive science to an emotional connection to the
Mhm.
divine within. Uh, so I think that's the direction we're going, and the Sasquatch are right up there with it. But so are the star nations, and so are the angelic realm, which I call the angelic realm because who's ever running this near death experience thing? You know what I mean? They're running this show, and they got this whole thing figured out. You know, it's like a program. It's not like it just happens every single time spontaneously. No, it's establishment up there. So I call it the Godhead, but it's also heaven.
I can tell you something interesting to throw a spin on it too. It's 2 weeks before I had the car crash. I was leaving. I was living in Murfreesboro. I left Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I was driving to Mount Juliet. There's an area there where you have to cross a lake, and the bridge is fairly long. It's called Hobson Pike Bridge. When I bumped my car onto that bridge, it was daylight. My music was on. My little 3-year-old son was playing with his toy in the back seat in his car seat. When I bumped off the end of that bridge, it was dark. My car lights were on, the radio was off, and my son was asleep. And instantly I knew I had been taken and I had missing time. I finished the 20-minute drive to my father's. When I arrived, he was hysterical and he was angry because they had guests and they'd been waiting on me. I had right at 2 hours of missing time, and they got me right there on that bridge, but I never could remember it. So father's best friend, who was also a member of MUFON, was also a certified hypnotist. So he put me under. And what they had done, there was a ship under that bridge. It came up, over, picked me, car and all up, and went right back under that bridge and just stayed there. And it was what you would consider probably the tall whites. They looked human, except they were gigantic in size, 10, 12 foot tall. But other than that, they looked completely, totally human. And they told me that my soul was coming to a point to where they did not know whether I was going to choose as a soul to stay here or go home. So they were there to harvest my eggs because my genetics had to continue. So 2 hours later, I'm at my father's wondering what has just happened to me, dazed and confused. And then 2 weeks after that, I have that head-on car crash and die multiple times. They knew that I was going to die. They knew possibly I would choose to come back, possibly not. They didn't know what choice my soul was going to make, but they knew the accident was going to happen.
When you say they didn't know if you were going to stay or go, and they wanted to harvest your.
They said that they would harvest my eggs because my genetic, blood had to continue. Is word for word what they said.
So what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you?
It means that they have definitely been following my bloodline and my genetics throughout.
Genetic royalty. That's what it means.
Yeah. Because I've had DNA taken for me. I've had eggs taken. I've had fetal implants. I've already done all that. Yeah, it's.
Yep.
And I would ask them why, like just why.
Could never get an answer.
They damaged my uterus so bad I had to have a hysterectomy. And when they pulled the stuff out of when they took what was inside the uterus out, they sent it to the top labs throughout the United States. And that one bloody lab could tell what it was. It came back unidentifiable. And within 2 weeks, all my records were gone.
Yeah, they had no idea. I had never had any surgeries, and I had a hysterectomy at 27 because I had cervical cancer. They got in there. My ovaries were completely covered in tumors. My ovaries were like the size of the doctor's fist, he said. He said, first of all, there's no way you got pregnant naturally with your 2-week-old child. And they said, and your body is full of scar tissue. We have no explanation as to why there is so much scar tissue. And it wasn't just in my abdomen, it was in my breast as well, because I had a tumor in my breast that they also removed. And they were just left scratching their heads and wondering, how does this child have all this scar tissue inside of her body and she has no marks on her body? No
See, I didn't
surgery.
get the tumors. I didn't get the tumors. I got the scar tissue. They had to go in and do some medical procedure because there was so much scar tissue and it attached all the organs to each other.
Mhm.
And they were like, how is this possible? Like,
What
there's
could do
nothing
this?
that ever
Yeah.
happened to you that should have caused this. And I was in such ungodly pain, but I was
Right.
still having kids at the time. I had my kids. I had a hard time getting pregnant. Well, we had an easy time getting pregnant till the last couple kids. I did have a problem with that. But when at one point it was almost like it burst and all this scar tissue came out. The doctors had those samples tested. Again, nothing could be identified by it.
I blame
I
the
do.
short. I blame the short grays. I think they're hacks. They're medical hacks. And yeah.
Yeah,
You know, if you
there's
don't,
been
if you
several
don't, if you
times.
don't have
Evil.
the
Yeah.
tall human
Yeah.
beings or any of the other ones, they seem to take real good care of it. But there's a lot of stories of them just hacking up people.
When I was 4, and I remember every detail in that craft. It is my memory has never changed since the time I was 4, like, before they invented the wheel and the dinosaur was there and all that. And I remember every detail of it. And there were short grays there, but the tall grays were there too.
Right. And all whites. I've seen
Yeah.
all.
I mean, it's not just there's one there. And I can remember different places that they've taken me, that they've done DNA work on me. And it was the smaller grays, but there was 2 different kinds of the smaller grays. The one looked like the traditional small gray zetas, but the other one didn't. He was really heavier set and just kind of not really grotesque looking, but he was not the cutest looking thing around. Reminded you of something you'd see in the movie Ghostbusters or something, only he was gray and short and squatty. And that one, I had more fear of that than I did the zetas. That thing, he was bad news. And there were several of them. And I remember they had all these people and they were all like in a trance, and they were walking down this path. And I remember running to them and I'm like trying to go, you guys, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. And all of them, it was like they would just stare in the distance because they were all tranced, because they can all do that. I mean, all the ETs do it, cryptids and everything else. Yeah.
I've always
But
had been bad about fighting with the Zetas because for some reason they cannot keep me tranced. I have a video on my phone where one night I went outside, my neighbors had said, the stars are doing something crazy above your house. They're moving positions in the sky. So I looked at the clock. I put my phone on video record, held it up to my chest, and walked out the back door. I walked back in, according to my phone, a minute and 2 seconds later, but it was like an hour and 45 minutes later. So on that video, I caught some really cool stuff. They have a wand. It looks like a wand of light. It looks like a flat paddle on one of the ends. And it went whoosh right over the top of my head and down, and I dropped. And you can, and then the video ends, and they're carrying me off the porch because I'm looking down.
Yeah.
So, but it's always me fighting with the Zetas. And then I came to on the ship, and all you could see was really, really bright light. And I was being surrounded by them, and I came up fighting.
Yeah,
So I grabbed.
I did too.
Beside me, I just came up fighting and swinging, and I didn't care how bad I hurt them. But they can't keep me out for some reason. They can take me, and they be working on me, and then I'll come to, and I'll start it up, and I'll feel something.
Because a lot of mine, I'm awake.
Always
and then,
they keep me out.
Yeah, and then the next day you have the physical evidence of it. It's like, okay, you can tell
bruises
yourself it's a
and
dream.
stuff.
Oh my God.
Great.
I look like somebody beat me like a piñata. It's
I
just,
couldn't
I'm
use my
sick of it.
shoulders for a year and a half. They were completely frozen because of a battle I had with them one night on a ship.
Mhm.
And I mean, literally,
I love that, Brian.
literally could not move my shoulders. It was excruciating. It felt like
I'm so glad you fought them, because I fought them too.
I
tell you what, those gray blobby things, I clean their little
if they would
blocks.
feed you or make you feel good or something, that instead of just like it's like cattle prod or something, they take you in.
Well,
and-
you can do like how the foot zap. If you can regain, like if you're in that place where that's what they're doing, if you can actually take yourself out of that situation, you can throw energy and zap them, and it'll kill them dead. Because I've done it multiple times. I'm with them.
every single time. but it won't
Yep.
kill them. It will sure knock them back. And
Oh, mine just, it was like they go up. I mean, they just like,
If they're connected to you enough to manipulate your mind, that means you're connected to them and you can manipulate their mind. If they've got you like under restraints or stuff, you can just use
Right.
your mind and start
right.
fighting with them. You know, you could fight with them. It doesn't look like, I don't care if,
No, you
okay,
don't
it's
ever just take
free healthcare, they're supposed to upgrade or some kind of BS like that. I don't care. If they're supposed to be messing with me as an adult, she should ask, or should be some kind of an
Yeah.
agreement. If I don't have any ask, I don't have any agreement, it's off the table. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
It's
And
like
I,
we
and I
boy,
have video of some of the bruises, stuff that they left on me.
I do too. I have lots
Yep.
of cuts, and it's always
Cut.
like a V shape, or I have taken
I get the
things.
triangles.
body.
I get the flipping triangles or the 3 dots for the triangle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh gosh, I've been coughing.
My wife and I, yeah, maybe about a year before we met, we kept getting little blood drops on our bed that we could not explain. We didn't know what the heck they were, and little blood smears, and then all of a sudden we were getting all these energy things, connection stuff going on between us, and the Sasquatch wanted us together and stuff. So somebody was working on us prior
Oh,
to
it's like their
our
own
meeting.
dating service. They put everybody together that they want together.
They do.
I don't care. They do. I don't care what
They
anybody
really
says.
do.
Once they decide you're going to be with somebody, you might as well cash it up because that's where you're going. I actually got up one day. It doesn't matter. I got up one day and I had this handprint with the longest thin fingers, and the knuckles were bulbous, and it was a black and blue mark, and this whole hand was around my thigh and in between my legs. And that black and blue mark stayed there for 3 weeks. I didn't think that thing would ever go away. And every time I would take a bath, a shower, use the restroom, I had to look at that handprint. And you talk about creeping you out.
That was the whole purpose of it.
Oh, yeah.
They feed on fear. The ones that take us and cause us so much pain and think that
but
they own
you
it.
can gain
They feed
control
on
of
our energy.
Yeah. You have to, when you're in that space and it's going on, you literally have to take yourself out of this is how I kill them. You take yourself out of the situation and you don't focus on what they're doing. Just completely blank them out. Take yourself out of that situation, grab that energy from you and just level their asses. I mean,
Yeah.
I've done it so many times.
Yeah, the thing is, I didn't have any. Neither of us had any recall of it. We couldn't figure it out until we put it together afterwards. That okay, somebody was tinkering with us, but nothing ever bad's come of it. So I don't know. How about you, Ma? You had any experiences like that?
I've been on ships many times throughout many lives. I remember lives pre-Earth where I was on ships. No one has ever messed with me in a negative way, ever. I've never been harmed. I have had work done on me, but it was done in a positive way. I've just never had any of those around me or to create, a problem for me. I hear people talk about it, a lot, but it's never anything that I've experienced through any of my lives that I remember.
I've had times where I felt nothing but love from them. A year
Right.
ago when I was taken, it was a traumatic experience because of some things that went on with it, but I never felt anything but love from them. Never. And I've had several times that I've been taken that, there was no harm done to me, and I felt love. I felt like they were compassionate. I mean, it just depends. It's like everything else. There's good and bad and everything. Nothing is all bad.
Well,
Nothing is
that's
all bad. Nothing is all good.
the good and bad comes from this third dimension.
Yes, ma'am.
That's where
Oh,
that is. It does
I would
not
rather deal
live
with everybody
in,
else than us.
yeah, it does not live in the higher vibrations. It lives here. And that's just some of the things that we have to deal with here in this dimension. Like I said, I've never had a bad experience with pretty much anything in my life. And that's not to say that I haven't come up against some things that I've talked to and worked through some things with them. But personally, I've I've never had those experiences.
So what do you, sorry, Jennifer, what do you tell us about some more of your experiences?
Which one? With my SAS family?
Yeah, let's get back. You left off with the second one. Your second experience was with the big black one. So
Yeah.
And how old were you then?
I was about 6 years old.
Oh, so it happened quite about 3 years after the 3-year-old.
And then the next real memory I have of one had to do with an abduction. Apparently I was asleep. I was 14. And I remember feeling my body separate. And I remember seeing myself float through the ceiling. And instantly I thought, I'm in my astral. Because even at the age of 14, I had already studied my father, all the books that he left laying around. I would always pick them up and absorb them. So I knew that I was in my spiritual body. I knew that I was going through the roof of the house. I knew I could see the stars. It was starry outside. And I remember being able to turn myself in the air above the house. And there was an old cherry tree that was in the middle of the field, about 50 or 60 yards from the house. And it stood there alone. And I remember seeing a very tall black Sasquatch standing right there beside that tree. And he stepped out. And I thought instantly, I said, he can't see me because I know I'm in my astral body. So I'm going to go over here and see what he's doing. Well, right as I got to him, boom, I'm hit by a huge ball of white light. And that's all I remember. And I remember waking up in bed the next morning very upset because they took that whole memory from me.
Yeah.
And the whole memory was gone. But I was like,
you get to remember what they allow.
Hmm?
You get to remember what they allow you to remember.
Exactly. But, I've heard them in the woods all of my life. I found tracks. I've had them follow me through the woods, cloaked, hiding. When the activity really, really got busy, if you want to call it that, was when I moved here to this farm. And I was retired by then, so I was home 12, 16 hours a day by myself. So that's when I started seeing them stepping out, just letting me see them. And that's when I started hiking in the woods, and talking to them all the way through the woods. Like I knew they were there. I could feel them. I could hear them. I could smell them. And I would lean down, and I've always been studied wild plants. So I would lean down and say, you know what this is? And I would tell them exactly what it was for, what it was good for, what kind of flower it was. Just talk to them like I had another human walking beside me. And that's what I had done for years. And then I had started gifting them cornbread, which they really love cornbread. And they picked the spot, not far from my home, but completely out of sight of everyone. And for years, I made them cornbread and took them cornbread. I had some very close-up encounters where I literally ran into a male one night and bounced off his belly. I hit him so hard. But that's right after the BFRO had come here. Well, it was some people, Adrian and Dennis had come by, and they had installed cameras in my tractor shed. And my hens were going crazy. So I knew something was going wrong outside. And I didn't take a flashlight. I just ran out the back door. And the hen house and the tractor shed are about 6 feet apart. They're just side by side. So I go running in between the hen house and the tractor shed to get to the door into the hen house. And boom, I ran right into Kokomo's abdomen. I ran right into him because he's solid black. He's standing there in the dirt. And I bounced off of him, and I stepped back, and I'm looking at him, and I said, Coco. And then he takes his hand and he starts beating the backside of the tractor shed. Well, I know what he wants because that's where the camera's at that's facing that field that the BFRO had installed. And I said, Coco, it's not working. And it was true. It wasn't working. We had disconnected the wires. And he just kept knocking, kept hitting the backside of that building. I'm like, okay. So here I go, the pitch black. I'm only 5 foot tall. I've got to climb over a riding lawnmower and a push mower and the tiller, and to get to the shelf where we have 20 or 25 totes of Christmas and Halloween decorations, climb up on top of all that in the dark to take that camera down. So I get it all down and I go back around the building to show him I have it. Of course, he's gone. But I mean, literally, it was body contact. He was
That's
about,
awesome.
he was over 9 feet tall, because the dip of the tractor shed here where the roof stops, it measures 9 feet to the ground. And he was a good head taller than that drip. So he's a pretty good sized boy.
Yeah. Well,
Pretty
we all
good.
know that they'll show up in your pictures if you ask them and say if you want to show up and whatever.
They-
I mean,
have-
if you use respect and whatever, then they'll show you all kinds of stuff. But
Mhm.
they don't like the game cams where you're trying to trick them and stuff. That's for sure.
No, they don't. And I told Dennis, and I told that the ones with the BFRO that were working with him at the time, I said, they're watching you do this. They know that camera's here. You're never going to get anything. They put the receiver for the video in my wood building. And every time I went in there for the 2-week period to check the receiver, as soon as I shut the door, you would hear running feet. You would hear the cedar limbs that are right beside the wood building just start scraping the side of the building, and you would hear bodies going under the building. They were trying to see what I was doing. And to this day, that was 10, 11 years ago. To this day, if I go to my wood building and shut that door, it's the same scenario. Running feet, the cedar tree is just beating the fool out of that building with the wind not even blowing. And you hear them crawling up under the building. They're trying to get close enough. Yeah. They're just amazing. They're amazing.
They'd go into my house, Jen, and I would knock on the floor. Like I'd go in the kitchen and knock on the floor, and they'd knock back. So I'd end up walking all around the house, knocking on my floor, and they were under there and they would knock back every single time. So I went outside one night, it was like 11 o'clock at night. I had a double wide and had the skirting around it. And I went on the side of the skirting on the outside and I tapped it. And like almost instantly you could see where something was pushing that skirting out, and it would tap back exactly where my hand was. So I would move down and it followed me all the way down the house, all the way back up. And then I went back in and I knocked on the floor and it would knock back up underneath of it. I did that every night with them. It was like a game.
It was an everyday thing here for Meg's mom and daddy and aunt and uncle and brother and sister to go hunting. And Mama Jen was the babysitter. And they would send the youngest ones down here to I live in a modular home too. And they would send them right down here under this house. And they would, first thing you start hearing them tapping, I could be taking a bath and just lean down and tap on the tub and get an instant response.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the same thing. It was like they trusted me and they loved me, and I was their babysitter for their young when they went hunting, apparently.
Yeah, they did that to me. They built this thing out right off the end of my house, and it looked like a little corral. And they would say, the children will be there, watch the children. And I'm like, okay. And there were times that they brought the kids where I could physically see them and I'd watch them play or whatever. But they would get a bunch of them and they would say, it looked like a giant playpen. And they would put them in there and they'd be like, okay, watch the children. I'm like, got it. And I knew it was remote view over the kids, and they would stay right. And those kids never left that spot. They never left it. And they would have a bunch of them running in there and hooting and hollering and playing. And I had put toys out there. They'd play with the toys and I'd go out there, after they were gone, all the toys were moved around.
There was one tree where the young always played if Mom and Dad was home. So I had taken this, I think it was like 6 foot long. It was a stuffed green snake. I think David, my son, had wanted it at a fair one time. And I took it up there to the tree for just to play with. It was green on one side and yellow on the other. And it was nothing to stop and peep up there toward those trees and see that snake sailing up in the air and coming back down and then sail it back up again. They played with that thing until it fell apart.
Yeah, a friend of mine one day came out and she brought a hula hoop. And it was the ones that have the light in it. So as it rolls, that light spins. And she said, hey, let's try it and see if they like it. And I'm like, okay, we can do that. You would look out there at night and that hula hoop was whipping around through those woods, 90 miles an hour, all lit up. And then another friend of mine came out and he had a big plastic jar and he put glow sticks in it. And he went and he hung the jar on the tree and he would get all the way out there. He'd hang it up. He'd have the glow sticks lit. He'd get all the way back up to the house and they would go out. He'd go all the way back out there. He'd redo it. He'd hit the button for the glow sticks. He'd get all the way back and inevitably it was out. This went on 7 or 8 times. He said, finally, I'm just leaving it out there. It can stay off. I'm going to go. He was staying at a hotel. So I'm going to go stay at the hotel. And he said, then I'll come back out and get it. We'll see what they do with it during the night. He no sooner pulled out of the driveway and it lit back up. Okay, so I took a picture of it and sent it to him. I'm like, Bob, they love you. Thanks for the toy. After that, I would go buy glow sticks and I'd put them out front. And like Christmas time, I would get my CD player and I'd play Christmas music. And oh my God, they loved that. And I put glow sticks out there and they play with the glow sticks. And I put lights out for them and they play with the lights and move the lights all over.
They love to play. I was out in the front yard one year decorating for Halloween. And I'm big on decorating for Halloween. And of course, my grandchildren just live right across the street, so I do it for them. And a lot of my Halloween decorations I've made. So I'm out there in the dark with a little flashlight in my mouth, and I am working away, putting these lights up, and all of a sudden, whoosh, right beside me. And I look and I'm watching a juvenile that's taller than me. Look, just as fast as he can move. He won't even look back at me. I'm going, hey, he won't even stop. And he runs right in between the house and the garage and just disappears. But he just did that to see what I was doing.
Yeah. They love that stuff.
Yeah. They're just hysterical.
We have Martin Lotsberg made a comment, and I was thinking that too. And so what do you think of this? Awesome. He says that is amazing. They could have just smashed the cameras. He's talking about the camera thing with the big with the guy you ran into. I think that he wanted you to remove them because he wanted you to, I mean, rather than just smash them or do what they do in many other cases, he wanted you specifically to know that that's not the way you're going to interact with us.
Exactly.
It was more for you. It was more for you than them. It was say, this is not, you're not going to be doing this. We don't want you.
It out.
They could have knocked it out in a split second and never shown themselves at all. They deliberately wanted me. They stirred the chickens up to get me out of the house. They wanted me to have to take it down. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, because it was a lesson for you. It wasn't so much about them doing it.
Everything is a lesson. Oh my gosh, everything. I don't care what it is. There's a lesson in all of it.
Sure is. But he was a big boy. Now, and once you take the fear out of it, then they seem to step out more. I have really, really up close and personal encounters. I was charged by a female. And by the time that she stopped, she had thrown her body to the ground on her butt, dug her hands and feet in. She was running so hard and fast. So the time she stopped, we were only a foot and a half apart. And she was still taller than me sitting on her butt. So, I mean, I've had some real up close and personal encounters with these beings. And, as I'm turning and walking away from her after everything happened, in mind speak, I heard brave child or a brave girl, I think she said. Brave girl. Because I just stood there and I closed my eyes. I didn't run.
When I got bluff charged in Texas, I just stood there. In my defense, I wasn't thinking about me. There were kids involved and they wanted the kids left there and I wasn't going to do that. And I got bluff charged and he came right up ran right at me. I stood my ground, went by the side of me. There's a palmetto bush. He leveled that bush to the flipping ground and the palms on that palmetto were taller than my waist. And my hair blew back. It literally blew off my shoulder because he was so close. And it's like when he ran, you could feel it. It felt like an earthquake.
Yeah, it feels like an earthquake. It really does. You feel it in every part of your body.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, he literally went right by my shoulder. My shirt blew back. My hair blew back. And I was like, dear God.
Yep.
I didn't feel any fear till after. After it was over, I'm one of these ones that I'm really good in a crisis because I don't lose it then.
Right.
But I sure as heck do once I know everybody's safe and sound and okay.
Once I get home, I have a meltdown. But while I'm in danger, I'm calm and cool and collected because I know that if, for instance, when I had that encounter with the Dogman, had I shown any fear, if he had picked up on that energy of fear, he would have attacked because he was not a friendly. This one was not. And you just have to hold it. Somehow we have been trained probably through other past.
This is all training that we've gotten from thousands and thousands of years. It's not something we got in this lifetime. It's an accumulation of all the other lifetimes. It's already in us. We instinctively do it. It's not, you can't go and read a book on this. It's just instinctual. You know,
It
you
is.
can teach other people how to do it, and they can do that. But if it's a natural gift, if it's something, it's a God-given gift, you've accumulated it through thousands and thousands of timelines, you know, and where your soul has been, and it just automatically comes out of you.
And it's this life your soul has chosen for you to be born with that switch flipped to open, and for you to realize you, those
It
gifts.
is. It is. It's just a trigger. And you always meet somebody that will trigger you. Your trigger, if you go and you look around for a situation that's going to trigger it, it's not going to happen. It's always a person. Like I know the exact person that triggered me years and years and years ago. And I remember her, she put her hand on mine and she said, don't be mad. And I said, what's the matter? And she put her hand on mine, and there was a Sasquatch standing directly behind me, trying to talk to me at the time. And I literally felt like I unzipped my skin, stepped out, the old skin fell to the ground. And I was like, you left me in there for all these years. Why didn't you come get me? She's like, calm down. I did try to find you. I spent 10 years trying to find you. Okay. I drove all over the state of Michigan trying to get a ping off your energy because I didn't know where you were, and I was just like hyperventilating. And I'm like, I always knew stuff before, but that moment was so pivotal because it was like download after download. This went on for days. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. But I had memories. I had always had certain memories of a past life. But when I got to that point, it was like, oh my God, you know what? 2,000 years ago, I did this. Oh, cool. I kicked butt, or 3,000 years ago, I did this. And I don't want to do that again. You do. And then it's an instinctual thing. It just automatically takes over. It happens the way it's supposed to happen. And it's just there. But it's accumulated over timelines, and those souls don't forget. I don't care if it's remembering your dog, remembering your best friend, your love, whatever. The souls never forget. They hardcore never forget. And they will spend your entire life searching for a connection with someone, whether, whatever the relationship is. It will spend whatever lifetime you're in looking for that other connection.
Hey, Jen, I have a question for you. You talked about the Dogman, encounter. Do you think the Dogman gets interested in the humans who are friends with the Sasquatch? So if you're friends with the Sasquatch, the Dogman's going to come along and look at you and say, "Well, what's this all about?"
I think we're marked, and I think we're marked from birth, and I think we're marked from birth by the alien entities that like to play with us, and we're also that is why I think I had so much Sasquatch interactivity with when I was so young. I didn't have an encounter with a Dogman until 5 years ago, and one ran beside our truck as we were going down a really curvy road in the country, and it ran for a good 1.5 miles, 2 miles, just right beside my passenger door, just keeping a good clip with us. And all he was doing was saying, "Yeah, look at me. I'm real. Look at me. Now be sure and see me." And the whole time I'm screaming at my husband, "That's not a Sasquatch. That's not a Bigfoot. That's an effing werewolf." I had no clue what a Dogman was. I had to go start studying it. Well, something else would be studying.
Mine were always interacting. Like my mom tells me stories about when I was so little that, I would describe what would be a Dogman, and I would describe what would be a Sasquatch. There are areas where they won't share territories. Yes. But I think when they get around certain people, it's just automatic. The energy that person will radiate is comforting for them. It's what draws them in. Some of us have a different energy, a different frequency, and it's like a magnet, literally a magnet. And I've always had both, always. And the ones that have been at my place, I've never had issues. I got a picture of one. I showed it to you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And he was literally not even 20 foot from my porch. Never tried anything. I had the feral cats that I had penned out there. He never tried to hurt them. They've never tried to hurt any of my animals. None of them. Not the Dogman, not the Bigfoot, not the ETs. Well, if the ETs got any of the cats, it'd be the feral ones that are running. But I just never had that experience where I've had an issue ever.
I had the real issue I had with the Dogman was when I was taking the bread to the tree. And then when I crossed over our fence, headed to the gifting tree, there's a wet weather pond there, and it's usually dry, except when it's been a rainy season. And it's very small in diameter. It's probably 20, 25 feet in total diameter. And I stopped right at the edge of this pond, and because every hair on my body had stood up on my right side. And I just turned my head, looked, and he was just right at the edge of that pond, right across from me. So 25 feet from me, standing beside a tree.
Yeah.
And being the empath that I am, we instantly connected. I looked into his eyes and he looked into mine, and I was instantly getting attack or run, attack or run. And his energy was just like, he was just so shocked at seeing me, he didn't know what to do. And finally, I said to myself, I've got this bread. I said, I've got a bucket of bread. I was taking it to my family, but you can have it. And I set it on the ground, and I just sort of backed away. And then don't know what happened after that. I backed away, back through the fence, backed halfway across the pasture, turned around and went to the house. But he really, really gave me, because I was hearing him. I was hearing the thoughts, looking deep into his eyes. I was hearing his thoughts, and they were attack or run. What do I do? Attack or run? And his body was just flexing. He just did not know what to do.
Yeah.
Can I ask you ladies your opinion on something? So I think we're in a time of awakening and transition.
Oh yeah.
Human race or whatever.
Definitely.
Absolutely. But do you ladies and Arla can mock, and all three of you can chime in on this. Do you and I know that's one of the reasons why the Sasquatch and other beings are contacting us and connecting with us at this time. But do you think a lot of this stuff has been going on for a long, long time? Like, I mean, these connections, hundreds of years or whatever, but we just because of the internet and the way we can communicate with each other now, we're just more aware of it. Or is it increased now because of the times we're in?
It's increasing because of times, I think.
Time. Yeah, I'm with Jen on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's always been a certain amount of contact. I think, certain people are marked, chosen, whatever you want to call it. They're watched from the time of conception through birth, because it's a soul that's already done it in a previous life. I think there's so much stuff that goes along with that whole soul thing that people don't realize it. But for my own opinion, from what I've witnessed, is it as the times have changed, so have they. I don't feel like they're trying to hurt. I think they're trying to help. But the thing is they all have this collective consciousness. All these cryptids do, as well as the ETs. We are the only ones dumb enough not to tap into that collective consciousness, because our people are out for themselves. Their people work together as a collective. They work under the law of one. And our people just don't get that. And that's why they flourish and we fail.
Exactly. Words verbatim, what she just said. Law of one. And humans are just too, humans are just too, they're still separated. They're still, the human ego is the real problem.
The ego is ridiculous.
It seems
ego stands there and says, no, we're separate. We're not one. But yet the soul knows that we're all one.
Absolutely. That soul gets you every time.
Mm-hmm. It seems like the whole core of my lessons are about that, about the all one, and trying to wake us up to the consciousness that'll bring us into that transition, which is raising your vibrations and whatever. But what do you think, Ma? Do you think they're picking up the activity now because of the times we're in?
Well, the vibrations have changed on this earth, and the vibrations have changed because we are changing, and we are the ones that are calling for the change, and they're just replying to what it is that so many people are putting out there vibrationally and manifesting all of these things. And yes, they've lived their lives alongside of us forever. They've been here longer than we've been here.
Oh, yeah.
And so when we came, some came already with the knowledge of how to live in that existence with those other beings. Some have not. And then somewhere along the way, some have forgotten. And there are so many that are being awakened that have forgotten what they knew when they first came here to live with all these beings that were already here, that they're being awakened. So I likened it as some wonderful being is up there stirring the pot of energy. And as they stir the pot of energy, you either get it or you don't. And so many are getting it. And even those who are understanding that we're all connected, sometimes can't continue on. And hopefully those of us who continue on with it can help them as well. I know I've worked with too many people who were coming into this, and at some point they were just like, whoop, no, I can't do this. I'm stopping. I can't take anymore. And one of the things that the ancestor grandmothers had told me years ago was, you can only progress. Once you open your knowing to who you truly are and begin down that path, you will progress. You will progress. You will go forward. You can't stop and say, I don't want any more. I want to stop.
Oh, no.
Because you will regress. You will not stay at that point. So it's up to the individual to say, yep, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to progress. I'm going to continue to understand vibrationally about all of these beings that are much a part of us as we are a part of them. And when we tap into that cryptid collective, then we really understand, and fear doesn't exist within that. We see them in a totally different way than we do if we do not feel connected to them. And so that's where we're at. And that's basically what they were saying is, it's things are changing, and things are changing because humans are changing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're the biggest problem. We really are.
Yeah. And that the fear thing you brought up is important, because that's so freeing, right? When you don't have fear. Yeah. But they took that away from me. And all I had to do was ask. I just went out in the woods one day and said, hey, I don't want this fear anymore. And it was just like a light switch went on. But I think what was I going to say? I forgot I had a good point and I can't remember it.
Martin Lartzberg said, I would not be surprised if this meeting of women is interrupting weather patterns and such.
There's that.
In a positive way. In a positive way.
I know what I was going to say. I mean, we know that the Sasquatch, they don't live in a linear time. So they already know our future, our past, and our present. They already know all that. So, and I also think that we create our own reality. So it's irresponsible with this kind of knowing not to imagine a good future coming up. And I think that the Sasquatch also are working with us, and I'm getting hit up. Here's RE giving me a big yes, that our future is going to be bright. It's dark, but we are going to come out of it. And that's why they're helping us transcend this darkness into the light.
And that's why all the cryptids have that and can bring that to us. There's so much the human has to let go of. Confrontation is one of the hardest things for humans to let go of. If you come at me, I'm coming at you. And letting those things go, or putting them in the space where they need to be, only raises the vibration that affects everybody. And, in the Bible, it said, it talks about being your brother's keeper. And I say that all the time. I'm not only just my brother's keeper, I am my brother. And so when I'm taking care of myself and putting myself where I'm supposed to be, then I'm helping my brother.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, like I've talked about so many times. People think that that's one of the big lies to keep us in
Yes.
is that
One
we're
of the
powerless.
thousand.
That
Yes,
we're
one of the
powerless,
thousand.
that we're powerless. The best thing that we could do is just envision and live that,
Mhm.
that love and envision it as and not let the darkness drag you down into its energy,
Yeah.
because
You've got
it affects
energy and light in you,
everybody.
use it.
Mhm.
Yeah. You've got energy and light in you, use it. You can push it. I mean, the bottom line is you need to tap into it, take your control back. That makes
Yeah.
such a difference to so many people. Take your control back, be in charge of your person. You don't want all this stuff hanging around you. You don't want people tapping into your own abilities or your own energy. Use your energy and take your control back.
Yeah. One of the downloads the Sasquatch gave
I
me,
agree.
many of them is, I've had many, but one of the big ones is I saw the universe as a big spider's web. And they gave me the knowing that every thought and action vibrates your little part in that web, and it affects everything in the web and in the universe. And that's why it's so important for us to be hopeful, to be loving, to imagine into being the future that we want.
Mhm.
And all those things, because it literally does affect everything. And that's the frustrating thing. Although I guess it's not frustrating. Everyone's where they're supposed to be. But that's one of the things I try to tell so many people, and some of them don't grasp it, is that you're not powerless, right?
Right.
So
You're not. I mean, there's so much that you can do. You know, if you can materialize it in your mind, visualize it, take that energy and light that's in your body and use it. That's what it's there for. It's not there to be not tapped into. It's not there to just sit and fester. Use it. You know, it's a matter of knowing how to tap into that, and it will help you as far as a collective consciousness as well. Because
yeah,
it raises, when you use it, your vibration goes up, your energy goes up, the whole thing, and it just evolves from there.
And it's just a knowing. You know that it's there.
Oh,
There's
absolutely.
you've learned from a book or any and all the studies that we've all done, but the ability to raise that light, to use that light, push back with light, it's just a knowing.
You have to
it's
be the light. You
Yeah,
have
you
to
have to.
be
Yes.
I mean,
the
it's right
light.
there.
And and know who you are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
honor that. That's one of the things Kashima talked about in the disrespect on this earth and the things that humans do. But the biggest was that we have no respect for ourselves.
We have no
We-
respect for ourselves or this world. Look at
Yeah,
the shape
and
our
that's
world is.
that's what he said. You humans,
Yeah.
you don't respect the air, you don't respect the water, you don't respect the earth, you don't have respect for each other. But the worst is you don't have respect for yourself. If you
Right.
respect yourself and know who you are, you're not going to disrespect anybody else or anything. You are going to stay in that space of respect and remember who you are.
I agree to all of this. I wanted to add that if a big shift needs to be made in everybody's understanding. Instead of being isolated and exclusively you, which means that you're isolated from everything else because it's only you and only you, this whatever. But we have to shift over to we are energy beings. We are energy
We
beings.
are.
We're
Yeah.
We
all
are.
beings.
That's who
And,
we are.
and then,
100%.
like Robin says, you got to take responsibility for your energy, the
Yeah.
energy you put out and the energy you take in. And if the energy you've taken in sticks to you, you got to be able to release that,
Right.
or whatever. And the
Take control of
beliefs
yourself.
in your energy. So if you have low energy field, then you're going to get sick. So if you start thinking in terms of energy and take responsibility for that energy, you're not going to be going around judging people or hurting people or letting people hurt you or letting people walk all over you. You're not going to do any of that stuff because you're protecting your energy. It makes you more of a sovereign being.
Yeah,
And,
but the thing too, I want to point out is when it comes to like the energy work, yeah, you can do a lot of things that can help a lot of people, but you can also, there is always the possibility somebody's going to use it for something bad. So it becomes this thing where just because you can doesn't mean you should. And there's a certain responsibility to being able to handle that amount of energy and the consciousness and the vibration and all of that combined. So, when you're doing that kind of work, whether it's on yourself, whether it's around you, whether it's on other people, healing, whatever you're going to use it for, it's at the very most utmost of importance that you realize that just because you've been given this incredible gift doesn't mean that everything you feel like you want to do with it, which could be something like hurting somebody, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
So you have to choose it wisely. You have to be responsible about it.
And that's respecting yourself, having
Yes.
the respect for yourself to know that that is not something you are supposed to do.
No, you don't cross that line.
No,
I think
well, the thing about being energy, okay, is energy is infinite, right?
yes,
It's
it
infinitely
is.
connected,
As
and
we are.
and it's immortal, and
Yep.
it was not created. It is an emergent property of space. So you got when you own the fact that you're an energy being, and then you start acting like an energy being, it's like, look, I'm immortal. That means whatever's going on now is not it's going to end up the way I want it to be, because I want it to be eternal and immortal.
But your soul
And so why would you do all this other low vibe stuff?
yeah.
You want to keep your energy pure in the right direction, aim towards love and all that kind of stuff, spreading love. And that's like a step in maturity. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
everything.
I think when you're on that high vibration or whatever, or when you're at your best, you don't need those bad things don't even occur to you. It's when you slip a little bit, when
Well, anything you do bad, energetically or not, comes home sooner or later. So sooner or later, if you try to harm somebody with your energy, whether it's throwing a ball of energy at them or your words or your actions, it's going to come home to you, and it's going to come home stronger to you than what you send. So whatever you send out, if you want it back, if you send out light and love and joy and peace, it comes back to you. You send out anger and rage, I'm going to control you, it's going to come back to you tenfold. Do you really want that?
That's what I mean, though, is that when I was in that love zap feeling, and when you were in your feeling, Jen, when you had your near-death experience, whatever, you're not going to ever consider doing that, though, is my point.
No, you're not. It's not even.
It's not something you're going to think about.
But you're also not going to stand back. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Robin.
No, honey, you're fine. When you have that pure energy source, and it's a pure energy, it's love, it's vibration, it's all of those things. You have to be aware that the stuff out there that's bad doesn't want you around. Okay. Because you're now a threat. Even though what you're doing is good, you are a threat to their world. So they will come in and they will try to diminish you. But it's a simple process, because light will always overshadow dark. So you're already that energy being, you already have that light. And when you push that out around you, it's almost like a shield. Anything hitting that's negative, it's just gone. I mean, like, get out of a shower and go grab a hot wire fence. You're going to get the same effect, and so it will protect you. And you don't even, once you put that out around you, you're putting energy and light and love out in the universe to begin with, which is awesome. And then you've got that around you, and that's going to repel a lot of this negative stuff, but it will let all the positive stuff go right to you.
Sure will.
So Jen, what do you, it's pretty self-explanatory just with what we've been talking about, but maybe go into what's your relationship with the Sasquatch people, and what do you think, what are you doing, for them or whatever, because they have us all working for them in different ways, and talking to other people and opening up other people or whatever. What do you think that they're teaching you, and what do you think that they are encouraging you to do?
They are my friends, and they're like family to me. Sometimes they even refer to me as mother or mama, because they've been here to keep my heart open, to always be a constant reminder to not forget that I was in that all knowing, and I'm part of that all knowing, and I'm still really a part of it. I'm really not separated. Is there a reminder for me to not be afraid of something different, something new, to always be accepting and encouraging. There to me are beings of immense wisdom. They're ancient elders. And I was raised to listen to my elders and obey them. And, they're protectors. They're just an amazing race of beings, period. And they have lessons for everyone that they're in contact with. As far as my lessons with them, it's just been about friendship and love and understanding and not being fearful with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with all of that. That's well, how can I not? But that's, yeah.
It's just been an awakening experience, and my whole life has been a part of that awakening. I guess this was my awakening lifetime. But I mean, there is a constant reminder that, we're an energetic being. We're going to show you what we can do, but you can do it too. If you could, if you just would, you can do this too. Because I've seen them sit around with their hands over their mouth. If they take a hand away from the mouth and open their mouth and yawn, energy just radiates out of them. It looks like the brightest LED light you've ever seen. It's literally boiling up and coming out from the inside. I've watched them come out of a portal carrying a huge big ball of light. And I got pictures of it.
It's so funny.
And that light was her baby. When I mentally said, what is she carrying? She said, my baby. I mean, they're just teachers to some. Others they can't approach because humans fear them so much. They want to cause them harm. They're just not ready.
No, and they're not open. I mean, they're not even open to the possibilities. There's the old saying that says seeing is believing, and it's so completely false. Like, reverse that. Once you start to believe that some things are possible, then you're going to start seeing things. You can't, if you can't believe it without seeing it, you're not going anywhere. You're dead in the water.
Yeah, you're not going to see anything living in a box. And most humans still live inside a box wearing the little rose-colored glasses.
Well, they're pretty
and they're
programmed.
not really going around them and over them and under them.
Yep, it's all pre-programmed.
That mother that was looking at you when you were 3 years old, she saw all of this in you and knew this and knew what you were going to be. And I think that she would show love to anybody who was open to receiving it or whatever. But she definitely saw who you were and what and she was pretty proud of you, I'm sure.
I had an experience with her where she picked me up and the bedroom window was no longer there, but it was a tunnel of bright white light. And as soon as she picked me up, of course, I felt that overwhelming bubble of love that you call it. But it's just that warm love. I'm safe. Everything is okay. And she took me into that light. I don't remember what happened when I was there, but when she brought me back, she'd laid me back on the bed and she said, that was to protect you so they can't take you anymore. And she said, I know you don't remember, but I'll tell you this. In a lifetime before, you were my blood sister. You were my sister. And that's the one that's always been with me, the very first one.
This female's been with you all the way through?
All the way through. She's not coppery brown anymore. She's gray. So they age just like we do. One of her sons, Sky Mountain, who is the alpha of this group, was one of the small ones that I saw that day standing behind that fallen tree. And now he's grown. So I know he's at least 57, if not older, because he wasn't that much larger than I was at 3.
Wow.
But their hair colors with age just like we do. I've got gray hair. She's got gray hair.
Would you call her your teacher?
Her name is Asia. But they call her grandmother.
Would you consider her to be your teacher or a teacher for you?
She is a teacher for me. Absolutely. She always has been.
Yeah.
She's a guide and a teacher, but she can physically manifest as well as walk through walls as a orb of light. I mean, they're amazing beings. Everybody wants it to be either this or that. And there's no.
You can't put it. It can't go in a box.
It's just like, it's not going to happen.
It's too complex.
Yes, they don't understand.
It's, it's multi-layered.
I had a picture on a television one time where the TV was off, the power was off in the house, and I snapped a photograph, and on the tube of the TV, it plainly says physics department chair. I'm like, was that a message or what? It all has to do with science and physics. But I think it goes a lot beyond physics.
Well,
Or
Ron says it's quantum physics, and I tend to believe him. So, but I think it goes past that. I don't think we can limit it to even scientifically one certain thing. Like I do believe Ron 100%. But I think it's maybe that, but it goes past it because everything with them is created for their own world, for everything they do. So they may take or have parts of things that are in our world, but they add their own little spice to it.
And that was just one of those messages like, okay, physics department chair. Well, it's showing on a TV screen, the TV's unplugged, the power's off. How am I getting this on my camera?
Yeah.
And I still have the photograph.
They came to the house one night. I was working on a term paper for college and I was on the computer and I'm trying to write this paper that I had to have done. And they came up to the house and they wanted me to come out. And I said, I can't come out right now. I just can't do it. I've got to get this done. Like after I'm done, I will come out. They shut the whole power grid to the entire house off, like the entire power grid. The kids are freaking out. They're in a panic mode. So I go out there and now I'm mad. Okay, now I'm mad. I'm out there just chewing them out. And they turned, because I went out, they turned the power back on. So I come in and the computer's still off. And I'm like, I want the computer back. The computer pops back open. Like, yeah, there's nobody better at tinkering with electronics than them.
Oh, they're masters at it. And if you get a picture of them, it's because it's allowed.
Oh, yeah.
And they want you to. That's the only reason. Otherwise, it's going to be blurry.
You know, I've had them add pictures, remove pictures from my camera, and other people have had that too. But another interesting thing that they've done is they can add an image onto a picture after the picture's taken.
Now, I've heard of them doing that.
Yeah, it's happened with me, and it's happened with my wife Susan too, where she took a picture of some lava rocks in Hawaii because they were reaching out to her and letting them know that they were there with her when she was visiting her daughter, and they did a bunch of stuff there, like a bunch of really incredible stuff. But one thing was she took a picture of some lava rocks, and she knew what the picture looked like 100%. And she looked at it later on, about 20 minutes later, and there was well, we call it a friendship welcome X. Every glyph is personal interpretation, I think, if you're communicating with them through them. And anyway, that X was like, actually, it looked like it was levitating in the picture, but it was there.
That's cool.
And they just put it there after the fact. So I mean, you know, it's incredible. How about I've heard people say, and I have witnessed it myself. Have you ever seen them materialize out of like a cloud or smoke or anything like that? You got your ladies? Yeah. You want to go into that, Jen?
Yeah. Like they materialize out of smoke. I've got several really good pictures of them doing that. I'll have to send them. They can do that. My son was laying here one night and in his bedroom, and he said the wall in the hallway vanished, became like white light, and then he could see directly out to the outdoors. And then Sky came into the house, and he's huge. And then he wiggles his shoulders through David's bedroom door, and then goes down on all fours and walks over to him, puts his face right down beside his, and he considers David like a brother. He calls him little brother. But he said, you tell her feed us, not him. And my name is Sky, not Grumpy. So that's how we automatically knew his name really was Sky. But my husband had taken a bucket of cornbread up to the tree and taken a bite of their bread. And apparently he didn't appreciate it very much. So he came into the house to tell my 14-year-old son into his bedroom, face to face, not to do that again, and what his name really was. Don't call me Grumpy. I Sky. And he turned around and went back out the same way he went, and the wall went right back the way it had been before. Now, the only proof I have to this is that the mud that he scraped from his body on the ceiling and on the walls of my house when he was going from that short walk from the hallway into his room. He was dirty that night. He got mud all over the ceiling. My son has never done drugs, and he doesn't drink alcohol. He was only 14. And he was like He came in there and he slept with his mama for the last time in his life. He was 14 years old. He was terrified. Even though he'd seen Sky 3 or 4 times out in the woods. I mean, Sky had walked out of a creek, not 6 foot from David, looked right at him. He said, Mama, only 2 steps to cross that road, and stepped over a fence. And then Mama, he tried to hide behind a tree that was this big around, and he was the size of a mountain. And he said, but I saw him hit the top knot of his head under the underside of that branch. So he's telling me this and he's babbling. So I said, okay. So I grabbed a tape measure and I rode on the 4-wheeler with him back down to this location. And the wet footprints were still right there on the pavement. So we went over to this tree and we measured it. And from the ground to the underside of that branch, we kept hitting the very top of his head, measured 14 feet and 9 inches.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's massive.
I had one that came down a dirt trail down towards our road, not even a half mile. There's a dirt trail and it crosses the road, and there's a rock wall there where they made the road. And I watched this. I was coming home one day and I literally watched him walk down that trail, walk across the road, look at me, and then turn for the rock wall, and the rock wall just opened. He walked in and then it closed. And I'm like, okay, whatever works.
And then they can just absolutely go from solid physical to anything like that. Just like when Coco stepped out in front,
Brownie does that all the time.
Yeah. It was her first experience at getting to see one physically right there in her face. And he was 8-10 feet from us, just stepped right out.
Oh, I'm laying in bed one night and I watched Brownie come. He did that, went to spirit form, walked across the line of the bed, looks at me, tips his head down, watches me, then just keeps right on going out the other wall. I'm like, please don't let me bother you.
I have a Dogman pup looking at me from around my lamp as I'm sitting in my den, and he's off the ground, but he's looking around this lamp, and and then instantly he's gone. So they can do it too.
Oh yeah. They've all got the same abilities. All these cryptids do, because they're all coming from the same place. So I said, not that all the DNA is tested, but I would be extremely surprised if they found anything other than an animal, human, and ET. It's going to come. That's my thoughts on it. I think it's going to come like that across the board.
I love Dogman myself. The only time I've had a real conscious interaction was every night for a week. This Dogman would come just before I fell asleep, and I would see his face and I'd tell him I love him. And then towards the end of the week, he brought his children, brought 2 or 3 pups, and his wife was in the background because she was afraid of me. But that was just an amazing, how dogs can just be overwhelmingly loving. That's what it was like. It was just amazing.
Yeah. When they first arrived here, they did mind speak, or it was almost like a dream speak with me. I'm laying in the bed, almost asleep, and she was a white female with the most beautiful blue eyes I've ever seen. She had like gray in her ears, and she was talking to me. I could see her mate and their 3 children at the end of the bed. And she said, we're just here to tell you how much we love you and how special you are to us. She said, you're one of 1,000, but you're the only one left. And I never could really understand what she meant by that. But she said, we're here to protect you, and we just want you to know how much we love you.
Aww.
And it was very amazing. Very, very.
That to me sounds real Dogman to me. In my world of Dogman.
I've not had bad. I mean, the Dogmen that I've interacted with have been helpful. They've been kind. They felt loving. Have I talked to any bad ones for people, that are having problems with them? Yeah, I certainly have. But the ones that are interacting and around me, I've not felt anything bad from them at all. I've not experienced anything bad. No bad energy off of them. They haven't been destructive. They haven't tried to hurt anything.
Yeah. One problem I have is it happened about 5 years ago, right about the same time the Dogman showed up. Is one evening my husband accidentally locked our little dog up under his recliner when he closed the bottom part, and we spent an hour outside looking for this little dog who was in the house trapped. Anyway, we crossed the property line fence. Bobby takes a left. He goes back to my dad's pond. I take a right and go to the neighbor's pond. It's the length of maybe 4 football fields from here to that pond. I get over there I walk across the drainage ditch to the pond. I get a quarter of a way around the pond, and then I freeze because something is off. And I look down at my feet and I see a frog, and I can see his throat move. I know he just did a ribbit, but I couldn't hear it. And then he jumped over my foot and into the water. There was absolutely no sound, nothing. I looked up, the trees, the limbs are just whipping and beating and flopping all over my head. No sound. This pond was only 100 yards from my main road, and it was a Sunday afternoon. I should have been able to hear traffic going up and down that road. No traffic. I mean, literally, I could hear nothing. I kicked a rock into the water. No sound. So then I was like, I'm in trouble. And as soon as I thought that, I heard a female voice in my mind say, no, you're in a trap. You need to turn around and step in every step that you've taken this far to get out. Don't deviate. You have to step and make each step that you took. Once you get to the entrance, step over the ditch and you'll be okay. And that's what I did. And when I finally came across that ditch, instantly I could hear it again. The wind was blowing, the birds were screaming, I could hear the traffic, I could feel the wind, but my ears, it felt like it burst my eardrums. The pressure was so bad. And I actually had blood in my ears for a couple of days after that. To this day, this ringing frequency that I hear in my ears goes up and down and up and down. It never stops. It never goes away. And it started that day. But on my way, when I was going back home, I was shaking. I was confused. I couldn't understand what had just happened to me. I'm being trailed on either side. It's just a narrow cow path, and the grass is really tall on either side of me, probably 8 feet tall. On either side of me, I'm being flanked by energy that is so negative that I know it just wants to tear me to bloody shreds. It wants me dead. And it took me all the way home. When I finally get home and I'm trying to explain to my husband what has just happened, he is shaking me like a rag doll. Where have you been? I was on the verge of calling the police. He said, you have been gone for 2 hours. I went to that pond and looked for you 3 times and you were not there. I said, that's the closest I do believe. I almost became a missing 411 that day because I walked into some kind of trap or it's through some type of portal or vortex.
Oh, that's interesting.
If I hadn't had that connection with that, and it sounded like Asia. If I had not had that connection with Asia, I may still be wandering around up there at that pond.
That kind of experience would explain some of those 411. People just like people look behind them and the person's gone and they never see him again.
Yes, and I walked into one. Now, Daryl was here. Daryl Denton came in to visit, and he wanted me to take him to the pond. I said, I'll take you to the pond, but I'm not going to the pond. I'll throw you a rock to take with you, but my little butt is not going in that pond. No, not doing that again.
So Robin, how do you like your new name?
Oh, my mic wasn't working. Sorry. I love it. What the last one I saw was Sunny Side Up. Is that what it still is?
Well, yeah, Sunny Side Up.
I love that. That works for me. Yeah, I was in a portal one time, and while it was a decent experience, they asked me to go into it another one. And I said, I'm a mom, I'm a grandma. Can you promise me I'm coming back? Because that is my main focus. I mean, that has to be first. And they said, well, we can't. It's not that you can't come back, but your bodies are not at the frequency that ours are.
Exactly.
And they aren't the energy level that ours are. So we can't promise you what you will be like when you come back. Now, the first one I went in really quickly. I wasn't in that space for a long period of time. And then when I went to exit where they had taken me, I went back through it very quickly. So it wasn't overly, I didn't have any residual effects, a little bit lightheadedness, but nothing bad. But when they asked me to go in, they had opened up a hole in the ground and they're like, this is a portal, just come in it with us. And I was like, okay, can you promise me I'm coming back? Because I have these other responsibilities and other things that I love. And they're like, we'll get you back, but we can't promise you what your body will be in, what shape it will be in. Exactly. Because of that frequency and because of that energy level. Ours is much higher. And, I was like, I can't do it. I can't risk it.
3D frequency. The frequency of our 3D little world is nothing compared to what they live in. So it's
Yeah.
really dangerous for them to come through as much as they do, because they're coming down in frequency where we need to go up to meet them.
Right.
But that was one of the traumatic experiences I had, but mainly because it affected my hearing so much. But I can tell when they're opening a portal. I can tell when they're on their way or coming, because it will up, go down, and go quiet, I'll be coming in this ear. And it's not like getting a download. It's like a signal. And it's never stopped since that day.
Wow.
So
People
you're
are really-
saying when your friends come around your house, or if you're out in the woods, you can, and they start to show up, then you'll start to get this frequency fluctuation.
It will fluctuate in both ears, and I'll know they're
It's like now you got Sasquatch radar or cryptid
I
radar.
guess so. I guess so.
No,
Yeah,
I've heard that from a lot of people now, that they get this attunement, I guess you'd call it, energetic attunement. And at that point, you have this thing that happens that it's like a phone call.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
okay,
I get it
somebody's
different
calling,
sometimes, but I get it.
and different beings use things in a different manner. I know the ancestor grandmothers have always, if there's something that they need to do with me, they'll either just be there, or if I'm doing something, they will tone my left ear.
Mm-hmm.
Kashima has always used my right ear, and they only do this if I'm involved in something else and don't just abruptly, okay, here I am when I'm doing something else. But talking about that, I've had so many people that they have that now, and it's like that signal that they're saying, hey, whatever they need to do. And a lot of this tinnitus that some people call it tinnitus. I think in the South they call it tinnitus.
Yeah.
But these are vibrational disturbances that are happening as our vibrations begin to change. And the more our vibrations change, the more that changes. I know I saw some deal on YouTube the other day. Did you know that tinnitus is now the leading cause for dementia? And I was like, now that's interesting. That's really interesting that they've come to that's what that is. And yes, there are physical things that, can come from tinnitus, but that is also vertigo is also another sign that vibrationally we're changing.
Yeah.
See, I started having trouble with my motorcycle.
I never got it in my ear, but initially when they started communicating with me, I would get it in my third eye.
Yeah, you can get it there too. But it's interesting. A lot of these things that I consider vibrational things, like tinnitus and vertigo and some of the other things, have that emphasis on energetically as we're changing.
So I started having trouble with vertigo after this incident at the pond. When I was riding my motorcycle, it's the worst. So I had to finally find some garlic and mullein drops to put in my ear and pack it with cotton in order to be able to ride my bike and not feel like I was doing this. And it didn't start.
I get terrible vertigo. Yeah, I get vertigo so bad. There's days I'm perfectly fine, and then the next day, even sitting on the bed, it's like I'm on a tilt-a-whirl.
Yes.
And it just doesn't stop. It's unbelievable. And it just
and then
keeps
stand
going.
up and walk across the room, and you're taking like
I
a drink,
can't do
3
it.
steps forward and 2 steps to
I'll
the
be
side.
perfectly fine, and then out of nowhere, and whenever it does it, I'm done. I can forget it for the day because It's not safe to walk from point A to point B. And I've gotten to the point where I've gone to go let the dogs out, and I'll get so off balance, my golden retriever grabs my arm, and he literally will pull me back because I'm falling all over the place.
Well, I have asked my family to specifically, when they're contacting me, use this ear, my left.
Okay.
And that way, anything else that comes through on this side, I know it's not them, it's someone or something else.
Yeah.
And they have done that. But this frequency shift, it'll almost make your whole body feel like it's shifting. It gets
It
so
does.
it does.
Definitely does.
You feel it through your entire system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can lay there when you're getting in contact with this, and your whole body just,
Yes.
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yep.
whoa, you know.
Like,
So,
okay, what do you want? Just spit it out.
but
Just spit it
those
out.
are,
Now, this is
yeah,
a
those are symptoms. Those are things that are telling us, excuse me, that our physical bodies are changing with that spiritual body.
Well, it's getting more and more. It's you know what you would get once in a great while. It's more and more.
Well, there have been,
Definitely.
when I was younger, there would be nothing for me to wake up once a week and be wide awake and roll over and see an elder dressed in Egyptian garb, but he'd be 10 feet tall and have very dark skin, and he'd be holding a book, pointing at it and pointing at me. And he'd point at the book and he'd point at me. I mean, it was nothing for once a week for me to see this.
Well,
And
No, wait a minute. So you got to talk more on this. So this was a Sasquatch dressed as an Egyptian?
It wasn't a Sasquatch. It was an elder type extraterrestrial being, I suppose, or someone from somewhere else. He had very dark, coppery brown skin, and you could tell he had age on him. He was tall and slender, but he was dressed very much like you see on the Egyptian statuary at everyone. And it was nothing for me to see one or two of those outside my bedroom window before I would go to sleep every night, like standing guard. And at least once a week have one wake me up, and he'd be holding a book, and he would point at the book and he would point at me. And I knew instantly. He said, it's time to start. It's time to get busy.
Now, were these holographic visions, or were they actually there?
He was there. He was there 1 minute and gone the next. And it was not a Sasquatch unless he was projecting himself as cloaked and like something else. He looked very ancient and very Egyptian.
How long ago did this happen?
I was 33, 34 when I started.
Okay, so 5 years ago.
Oh no, I'm 57 now. Thank you.
See my way with the ladies there, Mr. Beans.
Do the damage from earlier.
That's better. Yeah, that's better.
You see that? You see how I got that in there?
It's still.
He's trying to save himself, is what he's trying to do. That's all right. I'm calling Sue.
But no, that's amazing. Yeah, I love that. And so that meant to you that you time to get busy and do your work or whatever.
That's when I started taking classes with Carolyn Kennedy on Saint Germain material, and I started studying the Keys of Enoch and other things like that, as well as taking the Reiki lessons and learning to work with energy. So that's when all of that began. But they were prodding me like, this is what you've got to do. This is time to wake up.
Who was the guy? Who was the guy? Did you recognize him?
No, but I could tell he was an elder, and he was from an ancient race. I mean, you could just tell by his dress. He carried.
What was he dressed like?
He was dressed like
an Egyptian guy.
He had on a skirt that was short, stopped right mid thigh. He had ornamental belt around it. He had a headdress that looked like something an Egyptian priest would wear. It had a lot of gold on it, a lot of gold insignia on this. His skin was dark chocolate, like dark chocolate caramel, but you could tell he was aged. He looked like if looking at him, he could have been someone between the 60s and 70 years old.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, he was an elder.
But he was
very
wisdom.
tall and very thin.
He was wisdom.
Exactly. That book was representing it's time. It's time for your studies to begin. Or buckle down.
When it's time if you've even got a little bitty bit of your door open, that foot goes in there and they won't leave you alone
Oh,
until
Apparently,
you.
the door was like this when I had that car crash and came back. It was
Yeah.
only like this as a child. So,
Did
you know,
this guy
by the time they just kept on.
Did this guy have a human face?
Yes, he was human. He looked very
Okay.
human. He may have had an elongated head because the hat that he wore came up into a point.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
he
saw
did. He did.
I saw the same thing,
Yeah.
except
I think he had an elongated head. Yeah.
He
I
did.
saw the same thing, but this guy was a gatekeeper. But he had that Egyptian garb on and the hat you're talking about. But he
Yeah.
had that long dog face or animal or whatever he did.
Like
oh, like
Anubis?
the
No,
Anubis
he
face?
Yeah, and
Oh,
he
okay.
he was a gatekeeper. That was my O experience, Beans. When I had that O experience,
Oh, okay.
was the guy I met
Yeah.
there. Did
Well, I
you
had
hear
two.
You heard that one, right?
Yeah,
You remember that?
What
I
do you
do. It was a
call
while
an
ago,
old-
though.
What do you call
Yeah, I
it?
know. Yeah.
An old experience, an old.
Oh, when I met when he walked up and shot all that bloody energy and whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder what that was. That was pretty profound.
I don't know. All I know is I saw the battle between the reptilians and the light beings. This is what the gatekeeper let me in. I was talking to him, and that's what that guy looked like, except with the what was Anubis? Did you say?
Anubis had the dog face.
He looked like Anubis, and then I asked him if I could go in. He said, "What do you want to do?" And I can't remember what I said. And I went and I saw the reptilians on one side, the light beings on the other side, and they were light beings were trying to break consciousness through the barrier, and the reptilians were panicking and whatever and freaking out, but losing, getting their ass kicked.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, I seen this guy walking up from a long way away. I said, "Who's this dude?" And he was like a badass James Dean kind of dude because he was so cool, and he was like a giant light being. And he just walked up and he just went, shot all this energy, just parted like the Red Sea. And all this consciousness and everything came through. And I said, "Man, that guy was cool." Then he just walked away like he was just like brushing his teeth,
Did you feel like this
like
was
nothing.
to me that this was in real time because there's been a big conflict between the reptilians and the
Yeah.
star peoples just recently within the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, yeah, I was there. I saw it, and that the reptilians were gnashing their teeth, like they were really freaking out. They were going like nuts because they were losing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
But
heard
do
that
you
they got
do
locked out of our quadrant. The star
you
quadrant.
realize that the reptilians have a lot to teach us as well?
Oh well, wait a minute. Like we got a friend who can. Yeah, let
We
me just say
look
this.
at them as totally a negative thing, and that's
There's
not
some that aren't.
exactly how it is at this point. Even if all we're seeing is a negative in what's going on, there is a positive learning there.
Yeah,
And that's where we get tripped up when we get into this what's good and what's bad. And,
well, yeah.
that's where Kashima came in and told me, do not judge as good or bad. Ask yourself, are you compatible with that energy? And if
Yeah,
you're
well-
not compatible with it, just walk away. Just
Well,
leave it.
Who's teaching us more than just about anything else these days, other than our guys and Sasquatch, is the people who are doing all the bad stuff. They're really
We
teaching
learn.
us. They're really
Yes.
teaching us. They're really teaching us about, like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
Mhm.
But also we had a guest on a couple of times, Anthony T. Stage, I think, and there are bad reptilians, but there's some really good ones too. They're not all bad.
No,
Not everything is.
there's a balance.
And once
between all
once
of it.
again, bad is like you said, Arla. It's you have to weigh it like bad in what context, and is it really bad? Because if it's
Mhm.
waking you up, then
And that's
anyway,
a human thing. Good and bad is a human. It's a three-dimensional thought.
Mhm.
but
And
it
when
did.
we get past that three-dimensional thought, those things don't exist in that thought process.
Yeah.
And so I learn more from someone who brings a negative aspect to something.
Yeah, of course.
That there are so many layered messages there. And the number one thing that through the years that I purpose to do, if there is something like that, or just say someone comes against me with something, I send them peace and love, no matter what it is. I send that peace and love because those things cannot exist within that love, and that love brings that peace.
Yeah.
And I've seen that physically work where someone was doing something to me
Mhm.
and
I think,
using that.
yeah, Robin taught me that when I was putting up the bubble or whatever, that you
Mhm.
always have to send the negativity away with love. And when I
Yep.
was doing my healing and opening the door and the bubble, and
Yep.
this I came up with myself, Robin. I just opened up a little door and
Brian,
you send it out with love.
everybody has their own way to do it. There isn't a wrong way to do it. You learn how to do the basics and then you customize it for your own self, and you end up
Yeah.
doing it on how it works for you. So there's not a right or a wrong. There's a baseline you start at, and then you take it upon yourself to create it in the manner that works for you
Yeah.
and your
But
energy and your vibration.
I just wanted to close this off with saying, you know, I agree with everything you ladies have said, and some of the people we perceive as bad are some of the biggest teachers. So,
Mhm.
you know, it depends on how you look at it. But what I did see was it was like a battle between what's going on now. Like our consciousnesses are opening up.
Yes.
And there is energies and teaching and everything coming through. So what I actually saw was the reptilians who did not want that to happen, wanted us to stay in the dark, were on one side trying to prevent it. The light beings were on the other side. And so I saw that actual battle that we're going through right now. And then of course,
Yeah.
O just came up there and just kicked ass.
And that is very much who we are and what we're doing within our own being is looking at that side, because everything we look at there, that aspect is in us as well. And it doesn't matter what it is, we all carry all of those aspects. And however we need to get to the place where we understand that and see that, that's a very valuable thing to have happen.
Yeah. Now, Jennifer, is this how you wanted the show to go? We're kind of like, we're getting into some pretty deep topics here, and
hey, y'all are fine. It's topics that I have been in talking about and sharing with others for years and years and years. It's nothing new to me.
Oh, I know. I obviously not. We have what was it? What was the guy? Oh, Martin. He said, "Will you guys please talk for 5 more hours?"
I still have another show to do tonight. No.
I know. We're not going to do that. We're getting a lot of love from the chat room though.
Good.
People are
That's
really
awesome.
enjoying it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Everybody's so sweet.
So, what are some of your closest to your heart stories, Jen, or whatever that you were thinking you were going to come on and share? Why don't you get into some of those?
I have shared most of them. It's just the feeling of being blessed by being so close to these beings all of these years. And I hear all these people saying, "Oh, they're bad and they're killers and this and that," and it just makes me cringe because I know they're all different, because just like us, we're all different. But I've never seen any of that with the family that's been close to me. They've been here to help me wake up, to help me stay alive, to teach me, to guide me in many different reasons. But I can tell you.
Go ahead.
No, I was just something I just thought of. We were talking about light earlier. Back when I was 33, there was a lady that came to Nashville, and she was one of the guardians of one of the crystal skulls. And she didn't speak any English at all, I don't think, best I remember. But there was going to be a ladies' retreat, naturally, women's retreat. So I signed up for it, went with many, many friends of mine. And during the day's events, we were going to lay on a table, and she was going to say a prayer over us, and she was going to open her heart chakras. She was going to put this crystal, very large and heavy crystal skull on our chest. And it was just made of quartz crystal, just pretty clear quartz, a little smoky looking, but it was just quartz. Then it came my time, leave it to me, but it came my time to lay on the table. They put this, she said a prayer over me. And she had instructed all of us to keep our eyes closed. So me, always doing what I'm told, I kept my eyes closed the entire time and missed it. But when she set the skull on my chest and had the face facing my head, the skull went from just a clear quartz to a vibrant rose quartz color, and the color irradiated out of the skull, engulfing me and most of the room as it swirled around. And when it was all over, of course, in the background, you can hear people going, oh, you know, a couple of camera flashes going on. But at the end of it, she looked at me and she said something in Portuguese. And then she took her scarf off of her head. And she had a translator. As she put it in my hands, the translator told me to always keep it close and never unfold it, because it contained the energy that had just surrounded me. It was a protective, loving energy. And then she bowed, and I bowed to her too. Of course, I didn't have no idea why she was doing that, but it was probably one of the most amazing experiences that I've been a part of. And I missed it because my eyes were closed, but I have 50 witnesses that were there, and it completely filled the entire room. Now,
That's
why
awesome.
that happened was just one person.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But that's when I had started realizing that I had an elder there. You know, he had the book. He was telling me to get busy, get busy, get busy. So was that just a message from him? I mean, was it a message from higher up? And then of course it got me really interested in crystal skulls, to say none the least. But I've had some incredible, crazy experiences, and that was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah. I like what you said about never had a bad experience with your family or whatever, because same with me, with RE and that family up here. I've never had anything even remotely close to a bad experience with them. It's just always been so loving. And yeah, I mean, they've even rescued me and stuff, you know, and you know, and they're always watching out for Susan and I when we're in the woods and whatever. Like they're just like, you know, there's a real trust there.
Yeah. They saved me. I firmly believe they saved me from that trap at that pond. And I accidentally taken a rum cake to our gifting tree. Accidentally got one of their young very drunk, but he forgave me.
They've saved my life 6 times, so I'm a firm believer in the good that they do.
They do. You know, they protect their young, they protect their females, they protect themselves. They're not going to come out and say, "Hey, how you doing?" to a group of humans standing there holding walkie-talkie. They're just not. It's not going to happen.
No.
Okay, Robin. I mean, sunny side up.
Yeah.
See, it makes you feel like sunny and bright and
I'm
happy.
excited. Makes me excited.
What do you said they saved your life 6 times. Give us your favorite.
I think it had been a situation where it was an ET attack, and I was in intensive care, and the doctor told me that they were going to do what they could to keep me alive. My chances were not good. Did I want to call family members in, which I did. And I am laying in intensive care, and all these spirits are standing around me, and I can't hear them. I've never in my lifetime not been able to hear them. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm really screwed. Like, I can't hear them, you know? And the healers came. I remember the healers getting there. I remember feeling the vibration go through my body and the chanting and some humming. They had told me, the doctor had said, if I survived, I would be in intensive care approximately 6 months, and I would be in rehab in the hospital for another 6. Once they got there, I was out of intensive care in 12 hours and home in under 24.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm a lot of work for them too. I fell off a cliff one time and was dangling off a cliff, and Brownie got me off the cliff, so that was good. I was appreciative of that. Yeah, they've done a lot for me. They've done a lot for me.
Brian,
So
do you remember when I was in the wreck? And
yeah,
I was in a wreck. I was in a semi, and was pretty bad. But I was life flighted twice, had to be life flighted again to a hospital in Tulsa. And when I got there, of course, there's a whole big story that goes with this about dragons and other things. But when I got to the hospital, what they found was I had 2 blood clots, one on my upper and lower right lung. I also had a hematoma. So anything they did to address the blood clots affected negatively the hematoma. Because,
Sorry.
because it was causing it to bleed and push out more. So anyway, they get me through that. They finally get me into my room. When they bring me into the room, I'm looking up at the board that has, they'll have, this is your medical team. This is this nurse and so forth. The head of my medical team was Dr. Indigo.
Oh, what a name.
Now, for anyone who knows anything about me, they know that Indigo is the Sasquatch male that's been a part of my life. I've watched him grow up.
Dr. Indigo, my God.
Dr. Indigo. So I get there and I'm looking at this and I'm going, Dr. Indigo? I'm on the Dr. Indigo team. And I thought, I'm good. No biggie here. But what are the chances that a doctor, and I never did get to see that Dr. Indigo in human form. He never came to my room.
Wow.
So was there a human Dr. Indigo, or had Dr. Indigo stepped in and was calling all the shots? So,
wow.
That they do. And like the girls, there are so many times that they do things for us. And I think one of the joys of my journey with all of this and bringing it to people is the people that I've talked along the way that begin to have those aha moments. That's why that didn't happen to me. I thought that was a bear, but that wasn't a bear. That was one of them. And time after time, you're hearing people talk about that. And I just love that you girls brought that up, because that's such a key here as to who they are.
Yeah.
So Sunnyside.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, that was an amazing story, Arla. But, the connections that, I've experienced, we all have, just the connections and whatever, just the synchronicities and the stuff that, it's.
Oh, yeah.
It's just amazing. It's continuous. So what did those doctors think? Like, like they said you were going to be basically laid up for a year. Like, were they just like, what in the hell happened?
They had no idea. It was shock. It was nurses running in and out. It was doctors coming in from other floors, wanting to recheck this, rescan that. It was just a shitstorm. They had no idea, and they couldn't keep me. They couldn't keep me. And they're like, I don't understand this. This doesn't make any sense. When I got there, my heart was starting to crash. And I had things that were put into my lungs that when they did the test on it, came back that there was nothing to compare it to test it, as always. And everything that had been put into me went sepsis. And they never thought I would live. To be honest with you, they never thought I would live. They were like, you need to call your family, you need to call your mom, you need to, all these people. And I was like, okay. So I did. I called everybody. And they came in and they said, my mom lived out of town at the time. And they're like, your mom's on the other line. You're not strong enough to talk to her, but we wanted you to know that we did call her and she's going to come. And I said, tell her no, just don't. It's going to be okay. Just don't. She did come anyway because, well, she's my mom. But, it was like, I knew. The second I felt them there, I knew. And at that point, I was like, okay, guys, you're in control. Take care of it. Somebody fix something because it's not working.
when I was in the hospital for my heart scare, they were definitely there. They
Oh,
showed
yeah.
me, and they showed me, well, in a funny way though, kind of thing, but whatever. But they showed me they
Mhm.
were there, and it was pretty amazing. And I came out, and it's amazing because I came out with absolutely no damage whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
It's crazy.
It
oh,
is crazy. You know, like I had my car crash. They said, you may never walk again. You're
Yep.
going to be bedridden for the rest of your life and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And once I finally got the tube out of my lung to where I could pull myself up, because I broke every bone in my body from my waist up. And I had lost the feeling in my right leg. And as soon as they took the pump out of my lung, I just pulled up, screamed, kicked this leg off the side of the bed,
Mhm.
stood up, visualized myself walking out into the sunlight. And that's what I did. But
Wow.
I'm one of those, you can't tell me I can't do something. I'll turn right around and do it.
Oh, that's me. I'm too stubborn.
I'm going
yeah.
to do it. But
Yeah.
I had there, I still had that connection to that flow, that all knowing flow.
Yep.
Would have been able to
That's
say,
all it takes. That's
Yeah.
all it takes is to stay in that flow.
Mhm.
And once you're in
Mhm.
that flow, all things are possible.
mhm,
Yep.
they are.
I
They
agree.
really
And
are.
actually, they're more than possible. They're very probable that
Mhm.
that will happen.
I was just visualizing a show with you three. Can you imagine call yourself the Lady Beans?
Oh
I,
my God, Lady Beans.
The Lady Beans. Although it would put us out of business, so forget that I said that.
Arla, can I ask you a question about your wreck? Is
Mhm.
what did you hit, or what hit you?
We were in northwestern Arkansas. We were in the semi. We had an oversized load, a huge piece of equipment that we were taking from one place to another. And the DOT had told us, you've got to be on this particular road. No truck should be on that road, and especially when you're talking about oversize. But what happened was we were coming down, we had crested the top of a mountain and we were coming down. And as we came down, it curved, the road curved. There were no warning signs or anything else. We weren't speeding. He hadn't got speed up again. And there were cars and other trucks at a stop sign out on this highway in the middle of nowhere. And people were turning left. There was a little church there. It was on Wednesday, and they were going to church. So they had traffic backed up. Well, when we came around, Matthew and his genius way of driving, and then all those that were helping us literally. Anyway, he was weaving around. He knew his brakes would not help him, that he would run into anything in front of us. And so he couldn't go to the right, we'd go off the side of the mountain. So there wasn't anything coming towards us from the stop sign. So he whipped around and was almost to the stop sign to get over into the other lane when another semi met us, hit the cab, and tore it off the truck. And so we were impaled into the dash. We became part of the dash.
Oh, geez.
And Matthew became the steering wheel was in his chest and his legs. Well, we were there 2 hours. It took them 2 hours to get us out. They thought when they come up on the wreck, the highway patrol was like, well, these people are going to be dead. No one can live through that. But we did. Through the whole thing, I never saw the wreck. I was looking at my phone to see how far it was where we could put down for the night. And I was also at the same time talking to a good friend, Darren Mingy, on the phone. And when I heard Matthew's exclamation, I knew something was really wrong. So I just bowed my head. My head was already down. I closed my eyes and I asked that we not harm anyone and that we be taken care of. Well, we didn't harm anybody. We were the only ones. From all of that, like I said, I never had pain ever. I talked to people. I was taken to a space of no pain at that point. Matthew was in pain. But the thing, I guess the funniest thing from this is most people who knows me, you don't hear cuss words and things like that come out of my mouth. It's not because I think nobody else should do it. It's just I was never ever around it and I just don't do it. Well, Darren told me after the fact, he said, I knew something was really bad. He's hearing this wreck because I have my earbuds in and I'm talking to him. He's hearing what's going on. He said, I knew something was really bad when I heard you say, oh shit. I said, I did not say that. He said, yes, you did. And he said, I knew if Arla was saying that, this was really, really bad. Well, from that, being impaled into that for such a long time, they got Matthew out, life flighted him. They finally got me out and life flighted me. Well, then I was released from that hospital, which I shouldn't have been, sent home. I had to go to another hospital. I came home from there, and it was after that that I had to be life flighted to Tulsa. And I was told after the fact that they didn't expect me to keep my leg. They didn't know if they were going to be able to keep me alive because those clots were so close to where they shouldn't be. But I mean, Dr. Indigo was on the case, so I knew at that point that was going to be okay. During this whole time, I've never suffered much pain from the wreck. One of the other gifts that I was given through that wreck, and this is one of my teachings about looking at something and saying, is this a negative or a positive, is they found a nodule on my left lung. Because I had so many CT scans and other things, they found a nodule. Well, at that point, all it warranted was being watched. So they began to watch it every 6 months. Well, it began to grow and became cancerous. And so they took that out. I lost part of my lung. It does not affect me in a negative way at all. If it had not been for the wreck, they would not have found that cancer in my body. It could have gone on for years and years and years and been way past before I ever had any kind of symptoms. And the other thing that the wreck did was bring me back to land where I was supposed to be on. Yep, it took us off the road. We had been asking for the universe to take us off the road, and we definitely got taken off the road. And there were so many blessings, but during all of those times, there were healers of all kinds that were around me. There were dragons who were right there to do whatever it was I needed. There were many other beings. There were so many Star Nation beings who would just come and light up the whole area. So through that thing, I still have things from the wreck that I will deal with for the rest of my life. I'm fine with that. They get better every day. But the thing is that I could have taken that totally as a negative. Oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. I can't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But there were so many
Yeah.
positives that they far outshined any negative that I would see in it. Is that what
Yeah.
you wanted to know, Ben?
Yeah, that's a fantastic, because when I saw that truck, there was no front axle. I'm thinking, what could
Yeah.
possibly have done that? You know, you hit a car, car's gonna look like a Coke can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And
I have a question. We're coming up on 4 hours. I have a question
Yeah. I got to
for
get going.
for everybody. This question is for everybody.
It's
Is
actually
this
3 hours.
huh?
3 hours.
3.
3 hours, right? It's
Yeah.
coming up on 3 hours. Here's my question: is this the best lifetime ever?
Yes,
There you go.
yes,
There's one
it
yes.
is. It's an awesome woohoo, yeehaw, giddy up, and
I
whatever.
think,
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I would
I
say
Yeah,
think
so.
we learn,
hallelujah. That's
I
right.
think we learn and our souls learn from every lifetime. And that's why we, not the only reason, but one of the reasons that it keeps recycling and recycling. And it's like, it just keeps getting better. Yeah, the
Yes.
world and the country is in a terrible state, but that doesn't mean that we have to be.
No,
And
not
I
at all.
think soul
Well-
wise, I think we gain knowledge and wisdom every single time. And each time you just try to make it better than the time before. And you try to make it last longer. And you know that, you're going to be connected with people the next time as well.
Right.
Well, when you have this, when you're, what we've been talking about, this is actually an exciting time that is so bad.
It is.
It's really exciting because we know the levee's gonna break, right?
Yeah.
Something's gonna,
It needs to.
and I believe it's gonna be good. Like
It
that
is
spider,
good.
like that spider web. I'm gonna send my thoughts out to good and good creation
Yeah.
and do the
I'm a
best I
woman of
can.
faith. I have to.
And I believe that's gonna happen. So anyway, how about you, Jen?
I think it's been a wonderful life. It's been a very enlightening life. I've always felt like I had a purpose to being here. It
Yeah.
was something more than just the norm. And as far as the earth, watching the changes that are taking place, that is a big part of why my soul chose to be right here at this time. The changes that are going to be taking place. We've got to learn to love and appreciate this world because it's alive too, just like we are. It's a living sentient being just like we are. And we have got to learn to love her and cherish her.
Yeah,
I
agree.
like we take care of ourselves.
I just look at it that for all the different things that go on and all the craziness, I would never change my life. Like never. We get to see a part of the world with these beings and these other things that most people don't. And I consider that a blessing. I consider it an honor. And, so for whatever strife there might be, I'm not going to change it because that would mean changing my timeline with them. And so far I've been able to have that timeline with them every time. And it's incredible. So yeah, I'm
it's
not
been
wanting
a true blessing as far as they're concerned. And they've been a balancing factor for me between the attacks from the other one.
Yeah.
So I always had them to go back on to, and I know they help heal me.
Yeah.
And just like another extended family, one that I'm extremely close to.
So Jen, we asked this to every guest, and you probably said everything you're going to say, but just in a recap, how have the Sasquatch people changed your life since your relationship with them? And I know it's been lifelong, but still, how have they changed your life?
They've made me more aware, constantly aware of my surroundings. They've made me aware of energy and how it affects others. They've affected almost every part of my life.
Yeah.
My son's lives too. One of my sons, my youngest son, he lives just right across the street. So he still sees them. He still feels that energetic connection to them. They're an enlightening, higher evolved being, much higher evolved than humans are, even though they choose to live out in the woods from time to time. They're spiritual elders, and you listen to your elders and you learn from them. And they're also your brothers and your sisters who live on this earth with you. They're just a beautiful being. I've just been blessed and never had a bad confrontational situation. I could have gotten hurt when I was charged, But as soon as she recognized me, she stopped herself. So she knew, that I was not there to cause harm. And she knew that I was part of their clan, so to speak, because I've always said, they're here. They're really here. Whether you believe me or not, I don't care. They're here. They've been a huge influence in my life.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, hey, can you make my camp out this year? Arla's coming. You want to come to my RV camp out?
When is your RV camp out?
In September 18th to the 23rd in British Columbia, Canada.
I doubt I can go that far. I have a husband in therapy right now. He's had total knee replacement in one knee and knee surgery on the other knee. So I don't think we'll be able to go quite that far. But Lord, I would love to see your country. I'd love to see that country.
Well,
He
I
asks me
think
every year, and I always have to say no.
I think Robin's going to make it next year. So what do you plan on next year?
I'm going to try. Yeah, because you ask me every year, and I always want to go. It's not that I don't. It's always there's something going on, and this year, my daughter's having her first child with her husband, and so yeah, Grandma's going to be staying put.
Yeah, how rude of her to interrupt.
She should have planned it out better.
Yeah.
I've talked to her about the planning situations before. Nobody listens to me. So yeah.
All right. Well, okay. Well, hey, we've had a great show and we've had really good response from the pork and beaners in the chat. And
the
We
beaners.
set a record for
The beaners.
comments. Yeah, I think we set a record today for comments.
we did. How many we got?
197.
That was 190 the last I looked. I was like, whoa, that's awesome.
I think we've
I
had a
usually
couple
have
where
my
we've
phone next
had
to
more,
me.
but this has been a very popular show for sure. It's
We
right up
try.
there. Yeah.
We try.
Yeah.
And
you're
don't
right.
forget, Pork and Beans has a YouTube channel.
I know.
That's your
And you know
intro,
what?
Brian.
But it's a different name than
Drum
pork
roll.
and beans. And it's like
Yeah.
I go to pork and beans and I can't find it.
Pork and beans.
So
Oh
if
my
if anybody wants to get a heaping helping of more pork and beans, if you're not well enough fed yet with this show,
Brian.
then please go to our Facebook group and like and subscribe and tell all your friends as long as they're nice people and respectful people. And also go to my YouTube channel, which is Sasquatch BC, The True Story, The Pork and Beans Show. And like I said, we got every episode on there. This is the 200th video from the Pork and Beans Show.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
doing it over 4 years. And we appreciate everybody for stopping by. And thank you so much, Jen Appleton, for your first visit. And you'll get a food name soon.
I had to do it how many times to get a food name, Brian?
How
At
many
least-
happy
my mind
birthday
here.
gift?
Three
times.
times.
Look at that.
gift.
What a
Oh,
cute
wow.
foot. That's a juvenile foot, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was right out my back door.
Wow.
Isn't that
Yeah.
awesome?
Thank you all for showing
I
up.
think-
This was like, to me, it was like my mind was blown. I have so many experiences. We went from the star people to the Dogman to the Sasquatch to the
Well, we try to
celestial
cover
beings, the
things.
light beings, everything. We covered the ground. Thank you all so much, so much. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
Oh, we
And-
enjoyed it. Really,
and
It was
enjoyed
so
it.
much
fun. Had fun.
It was
Everybody
fun.
tune in Thursday. We got John, I think it's John J, but it's John J Davis, John Davis anyway, and he's gonna relate an amazing near-death experience.
Awesome.
Because he
I'm gonna have
has
to miss
Will be
it.
awesome.
because he has a passion for talking about it, because it
That's
changes
awesome.
lives when you hear stuff like that. So anyway, we're going to talk to him, and he's a great guy and amazing, and we're going to try to get a little deeper into it. So that'll be fun. So thanks everybody for coming. Thank you, Jen.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we usually
Especially
have a
with
lot
you
of
here.
fun. What's that?
Especially with Robbie here.
I know we have fun. We have a good time.
We
Her and
have
I.
a really good time together. We work
We
very
do.
well.
I love it. We get along really well, and it's absolutely hysterical if we can quit laughing long enough to accomplish anything. Oh my God.
And I'm really amazed at the composure you ladies showed being in the presence of the world's handsomest man.
You don't understand how hard it was, Brian. But I've done this show many times, so I've learned to balance myself. You know, do the energy work first. Practice.
I don't want to get in. I don't want to get in trouble with Pat. He's a little tough guy. I think he was a thug when he was younger.
I don't think. Oh.
Okay, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for
Bye,
showing up.
everybody.
Bye, everybody. Love you all.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.